And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Krezakowski versus Suggs. Step forward, please.
United States Marine Joseph Krezakowski is suing his ex-girlfriend, 26-year-old lease administrator Amy Suggs, for her share of a credit card debt.
Mr. Krezakowski, you claim that the defendant, who is your former girlfriend, owes you for some credit card debt.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says that, yes, in fact, you did agree to pay half of the credit card debt that the two of you had accumulated while you were together, but then she had second thoughts about it after she made some payments, and she feels as if she should not have to pay that because she was sort of pressured into making the agreement. Is that your defense?
Not exactly.
Well, what's your defense?
There were extenuating circumstances when we separated, and I felt like I was taken advantage of in the situation. Not necessarily that I just decided I didn't want to make payments anymore.
Well, let's start with the fact that the two of you lived together.
Yes.
And that you had this credit card that had built up how much in debt, sir?
When we separated, it was at $6,500 and some change, ma'am.
And you agreed to split that debt in half?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And you separated when?
About the 20th of July of 2002, ma'am, or of January.
20th of January?
Yes, ma'am.
And you did make payments up until March of 2003?
Correct.
And then stopped?
Right.
Okay, now explain why.
When we separated, I was in a situation where I was in North Carolina with my son, an 8-year-old, by myself. Joe had made reference several times to being in relationships before where everything had been taken away from him. I needed to get out of the relationship, and I was concerned that when we separated, it wouldn't be as easy as I wanted it to be. Not only was I alone in North Carolina, but I had no friends there to help me in my situation. When the discussion came up about us separating, I agreed not to take anything with me that he would have to replace, and I agreed to pay half of the credit card.
What do you mean you agreed not to take anything that he would have to replace?
Well,
what did you take with you?
I took my son's bedroom furniture, my personal belongings, my clothing, some extra dishes.
You took dishes? Go ahead. What else?
And I believe I took a hope chest, a cedar hope chest.
Anything else that you took, sir?
She took the computer and also a china hutch for the kitchen.
Does that sound familiar?
Yes, yes.
You left the computer out, and you left the china hutch out, right?
Right.
Was the computer purchased on the credit card?
It was purchased on a totally separate credit card that was already paid off by this time, ma'am.
Was anything that was taken by the defendant items that had been purchased on the credit card?
No, ma'am. Basically, the credit card was used for both our children's Christmas and birthdays and things for around the house.
Okay. You haven't convinced me so far, Miss Suggs. All I hear is a lot of excuses. You want to take one last shot?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
When we separated, majority of our furniture that we had accumulated together, we either brought into a relationship or bought while we were together. He kept all of it. I don't have anything to show for that. A few measly pieces of furniture.
Did you ask for anything else?
I wanted more things, but I wasn't in a position to ask because I was by myself. I didn't know how he would react, how he would respond.
Well, then you didn't ask for it. Then you took whatever you said you wanted.
Not only did I have to refurnish an entire apartment, I paid him $1,300, in addition to the fact that at the time we separated, he was making probably twice as much as I was.
All of those are excuses. You were living together as a family. You had a child. Did you have children?
I have a son from a previous marriage that doesn't live with me, but he'd come and visit, ma'am.
Your son would come and visit, and your child lived with you. So you had this credit card that was used for your family. He agreed to pay for half. You agreed to pay for half. And I was right when I said later on, after you made some payments, you had second thoughts.
No, I didn't have second thoughts. All along, I felt like I had been taken advantage of.
You made the deal. Live by it. Stop being a crybaby. You made the deal. That's the deal. Stop having second thoughts about it. How come you didn't have second thoughts and say, you know, I really should give him the entire amount? How come it's always, I have second thoughts, I don't think I'm going to give him anything?
Because I didn't trust that he would leave me alone. I gave him all
that's
the furniture
unfortunate,
and made
madam. You haven't told me any reason why you didn't trust him. Because he had another bad relationship where he ended up on the short end of the stick financially? That was your reason? Miss Suggs, be a grown-up. You made the deal. You live by it. The check will be drawn to the card company, which will clear your credit, sir, of $2,481.65. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 219 on the calendar in the matter of Davis versus Demonkowski. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm a journeyman carpenter.
According to your complaint, you and the defendant had dated. He got himself arrested for falling behind in his child support. You agreed to bail him out. The bail was $1,100. I don't know if that was the bail or what he owed in back child support. What was it?
It was what was owed.
So she gave you the money to support your child?
Yes.
How old is your child?
She is 7.
Does she live with you?
No, she lives with her parent, or her other parent.
So you paid his portion of his child support so that he could get out of jail, $1,100, with the following arrangement. And the arrangement was that since he didn't have money, he was going to fix your father's roof.
Yes.
Is that right?
That was the agreement, yes, after I got out of jail.
And once you got out of jail, you did not fix her father's roof. And you have what you consider the perfect defense for why you didn't fulfill your end of your obligation. So, sir, Officer Bird and I are all ears.
All right. The main reason why I'm not going to pay her back now, or didn't think that I owed her any money.
Listen, I want you to start this way so that you really don't irritate me. The reason that I believe I have a legitimate defense,
All right.
not the reason I'm not going to pay it back now or never.
All right. The reason I do not believe I need to owe her this amount of money is I get laid off every winter. Well, unemployment only pays a percentage of my child support, so...
Listen to me. Because you're in construction and things got slow and you got laid off, there are other kinds of jobs that you can do if you have a 7-year-old child that you have to support, other than collecting unemployment. You can wait tables, you can wash dishes, you can collect cans. There are a lot of other things that you do. So I have no sympathy for you.
Well,
so get to your defense.
Okay, my defense is afterwards she ended up going out, unbeknownst to me, she found out where my ex-wife lived. And me and my ex-wife, we had a vehicle that was purchased with us together for me to ride back and forth to work when we were married. Well, my ex-wife made an arrangement with me to sign it over into my name, and I was driving it back and forth to work, getting ready to assume payments. Well, before even a month went by, Michelle, she ended up filing a suit against me.
On what date did she bail you out? Did she pay your child?
I don't remember the exact date.
What month?
May 12th.
And on what date did you start to work on her father's roof?
I haven't yet because I was trying to...
And on what date did you file this lawsuit?
I believe it was July 3rd.
So between May 12th, when you got out of jail, and July 3rd, you hadn't started working on her father's roof?
No, because I was working at my job.
Who cares?
She made it an explicit comment, don't worry about it, do it when you have time. Exact words out of her mouth.
I still don't hear it. Do you hear a defense anywhere?
Well,
anywhere
she ended up making me
stew,
lose this vehicle, so I ended up missing 8 days of work.
How did she cause you to lose the vehicle?
She went to my ex-wife's house, and my ex-wife became furious, took the vehicle back, and just decided to sell it or do whatever. I have documentation from my boss.
Who cares whether you lost 8 days of work? I don't care whether you should. If you lost 8 days of work, you should have done her father's roof. Then you fulfill your obligation.
No vehicle means no transportation to go do a job.
Let me ask you this question, sir. Are you telling me that you stayed in your house for 8 days? You had enough food and water and sustenance, you didn't go out of your house?
Well, pretty much, yeah. I had no vehicle to go nowhere, so that means I did not go anywhere.
Did you call her father and say, I don't have a car, come and pick me up, and I'll come over and do your roof all day?
No, I only talked to Michelle.
You know, you have an excuse for everything. You have an excuse for why you didn't pay child support. You have an excuse for why you didn't fulfill your obligation pursuant to your agreement with her. You have an excuse why you can't get out of bed in the morning.
I get up 4:30 every morning and go to work.
Then if you went to work at your other job, and if you didn't want to go and fix her father's roof, you give her back her $1,100. Let me put it to you this way, sir. Between 5/12 and 7/3, if you didn't go and fix her father's roof, how much did you pay her back each week of the $1,100?
0.
You got my drift.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, you talked about an ex-wife, sir. Is that the person who was the mother of your 7-year-old?
No, she is not.
Do you have a child with that person?
No, I do not.
And that's your only child, I assume?
That is my only child.
Thank God for small favors.
And later today,
You say that you loaned a cosmetics case to the defendant. It was yours. She won't return it. She says it's her case. And Bird really cares about this.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michelle Davis says when ex-boyfriend Charles Diemenkowski was arrested for unpaid child support, she helped him out and paid off the debt.
Now listen to me. You know what your problem is? The problem is you made a stupid deal. I wouldn't want him fixing my roof.
I don't want him to fix it.
Well, I know you
No.
don't want to, but that was the agreement you made.
Right, because...
Miss Davis, that was the agreement that you made with him. That was very dumb.
I know.
So I have to be able to look at the facts here and say, do I have confidence that if I direct this man to fulfill his obligation to do your father's roof pursuant to your agreement that he's going to do it? And am I going to stand over him with a whip to make sure he does it? The answer is, I'm not going to do that. So I have to find some balance. I have to find some way of making you whole because he's full of baloney. Right? He's got every excuse under the sun. He's a user. Now, you talked about an ex-wife, sir. Is that the person who was the mother of your 7-year-old?
No, she is not.
Do you have a child with that person?
No, I do not.
And that's your only child, I
That
assume.
is my only child.
Thank God for small favors. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100. I wouldn't let him fix my roof. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He told me not to call him anymore, and his roommate threatened me.
She only went out for one reason, to go be vindictive to my ex-wife.
This is his ex-wife, and we're friends, and I didn't cause a problem.
She never met my ex-wife before this, ever.
I think he's a user.
Hopefully never see him again, big black wall, that'll be fine.
Yeah, this is case number 130 on the calendar in the matter of Berry versus Garrett. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
All right, reading your complaint, Miss Berry, is like reading one of those little mini novels. Let me see if I can explain to my friend Bird over here what I think happened. You and Mr. Garrett were involved as boyfriend and girlfriend for a period of time. Then you broke up. After you broke up, you continued to have some contact with him. So far, am I correct?
Yes.
Where were you living?
In Las Vegas,
And where was he living?
Studio City, California.
And while you were dating, you would go to him for a weekend, he would come to you for a weekend, but after you broke up, on Valentine's Day, you decided to go to visit him.
Correct.
Did you call him first?
Yes.
What did you say to him when you said, oh, it's Valentine's Day, I want to come and see you?
It wasn't so much of an issue as it being Valentine's Day. It was just the weekend, and I called him and told him I was on my way out there.
And what did he say?
At first, we were not getting along very well, so at first he was kind of like, no. But then as the week went on, he was like, go ahead and come out here. So, and then I called him and told him my friend was going to come with us, and that's when he was like, no, she doesn't need to come. But, you know, I told her that's fine. You know, she can come. And
Just a second. So first he said, don't come. And then you called again, and you schmoozed him again, and he said, finally said, okay, you can come.
Right.
And then you said, I'm on my way, I'm coming with a girlfriend. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
And he was annoyed.
Right.
So you get to his house, and there's a bit of a disagreement, because according to his answer, you were on the phone when he came home from work or something, and you were on the phone with a fella, right?
Right.
And he was annoyed. You were annoyed.
Correct.
Because you felt as if she was sort of using you.
Correct.
He didn't write that in here, but I sort of pieced that together.
Okay.
This is all leading up to what this lawsuit is about. But you understand, Bird, that I'm just getting you there.
So far, I'm following you.
So far, you're following. So, they're not really in a relationship, but sometimes maybe. She gives him a tease. She says, I want to come out. He said, no, yeah, please, let me come out. Okay, I'm on my way, and I'm with my friend. What's her name?
Argina.
Argina. Who's Argina? What do I need an Argina here for on Valentine's Day weekend, right? You and I are going to cozy up on Valentine's Day. Who needs Argina? Comes with Argina. He's really annoyed. He leaves, comes home. Not only does he come home, he finds her on the telephone talking, schmoozing it up with a guy. He is really annoyed. And you broke her.
Cell phone.
Right. So that's item numero uno.
Right.
Broken cell
Cell
phone.
phone.
How much is the cell phone?
I had insurance on it, so it was only $35. I had to pay this Sprint $35 insurance.
Great. $35 on the plaintiff's side. Then, after he broke the cell phone, the two of you got into sort of a shouting match, and you and your friend, Argina, took off. according to your complaint, you took off and you also took the house keys.
Right.
You say that he went and followed you and was chasing you all over the place.
He was.
Backed into your car, causing damage to your car, and you want him to pay for the damage that he caused to your car. That's what your
Exactly.
lawsuit is. Cell phone, damage to your car. Mr. Garrett says that after you had this argument and he was so furious that he broke your cell phone and you took off, it was very late at night, right?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock in the morning. Mr. Garrett says after you left, he got hungry. Right, Mr. Garrett?
Yep.
So you went out in search of food. You were foraging for food.
Well, it was around 11 o'clock. Everything happened at 1, but yeah, around 11 o'clock. I just got home, remember. Go ahead.
And serendipitously, you found her.
Yep.
Pick it up from there, Mr. Garrett.
All right, I can pick it up from there, although some of the things that were said weren't totally true, but I'll pick it up from there. Okay, so I'm driving down the street. I see her crossing the intersection. I'm looking at her. I want my keys. She's not giving me my keys.
She's crossing the intersection. She's in her car, you're in yours. How do you convey to her, Mr. Garrett, that you want your keys?
I just looked at her, and she looked at me, and she laughed and peeled out.
So that's how you conveyed to her that you want my keys.
Well, I think she knows I want my keys.
Shh, don't tell me what you think she knows.
Okay.
So you conveyed nothing to her. So she's peeling out, and what did you do?
Followed her.
You chased her.
Yes. Well, in the beginning, I followed her because it seemed to me that she was going to my house because the street that she turned off of was heading back to my house. So,
So at the beginning you were following. When did it turn into a chase, Mr. Garrett?
When she didn't turn on my street.
And then what happened? So then you knew she wasn't coming back to your house.
When she didn't turn on my street and got to the light, I stopped at my street. She went all the way to the end and quickly hit the corner. So I sped up to the corner and I saw her at the other corner. And
Why?
Because she had my only set of keys to my other car and my house.
So you're chasing her at
Yep.
this point instead of going back to your house and calling 911 and or going to the local precinct and saying, listen, this woman took my keys. She has my only set of keys with her. I know she's going to be back because she's got stuff in my house, and I don't want to be there to be any problem.
She didn't have any. She took all her things with her, so I figured she was gone. And when I noticed that my keys were gone, I left the house.
I didn't take all my stuff with me because we went back the next day.
So you were chasing her, and you were both traveling pretty quickly. And then what happened, Mr. Garrett?
Well, when the chase ended, I got out the car. I told her to give me my keys. She said, no, I'm not going to give you your keys. I'll go to your house. Let's just go to your house because you're not going to let me in type thing. So we proceeded to go to my house. Once again, she did not turn on my street. She headed for the freeway. She headed for the freeway. So I sped up in front of her and stopped at the freeway entrance. I wasn't going to get on the freeway. I just stopped there. She backed up. And where she backed up is at a park. She backed up. I backed up.
And that's how you both dented your cars.
I believe.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's how you both dented your cars.
Well, that's how he backed into my car, and so I turned to try to get away from him. He backed up again, and that's how.
What were you doing with his keys?
We took them so we could get back in.
You took them?
Yeah, I took them.
He didn't give them to you. You took them.
No, he was in the room with the door locked with all the house phones and everything. He
I don't care.
locked them in the room. So
I don't care.
We
It's
left.
My house.
Shh. You stole his keys.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Doesn't have a lot of friends.
I don't need a lot of friends.
Just checking your, your directory. You only
ahead.
know 4 people.
Yeah, I know.
And later today,
You also play a werewolf.
Correct.
You weren't going to see a performance of Snow White.
No, Your Honor.
You were going to the haunted house because you wanted to be,
Scared.
and you were.
Scared.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Natasha Berry says ex-boyfriend Patrick Garrett broke her cell phone and rammed her car in a fit of rage. Patrick says Natasha took advantage of him.
So, did you also key his car?
No, I did not do that.
You say that you keyed your car. What proof do you have that, other than this damage, these 2 smashed cars that I now have, which comes to me, as far as I'm concerned, under the category of both of you deserved it. You stole his keys, you wanted to get him back, You both acted inappropriately. You could have just as easily have gone to the police station and say, I have this nut following me, you know. I want to give him back his keys. I don't want him to follow me anymore, and I just want to go get my stuff. Instead, you were playing with each other. So the only thing you're lucky about is that nobody else got hurt with regard to your antics. So you can both pretty much fix your own cars. Now, you want to show me, prove to me that she keyed your car?
Well, the car wasn't keyed before she came to my house. And after this incident happened, the car's keyed. That's the only proof I have besides showing you pictures of the keyed car.
Can I see the pictures, just my own information?
Well, I have it in my phone. Is that?
I don't care where it is. I don't care if it's your phone and your ear. I don't care where it is. Just let me see the picture of the keyed car.
You can just thumb through it, but that's one scratch.
Press that button and that advances it.
Doesn't have a lot of friends.
I don't need a lot of friends.
Just checking your, your directory. You only know 4 people.
Yeah, I know.
Mr. Garrett.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen to me, sir. In all likelihood, Miss Berry did, in fact, key your car. Unfortunately, the fact that she may have had a motive to do that and an opportunity to do it isn't enough in a court. Now, I have to think about what to do to the 2 of you who could have killed somebody, and you're driving around that February 14th weekend because you were both acting foolish. I wish there was something I could do to you and for you. There isn't, unfortunately. The only thing I can do to you is say, you will fix your own car because you acted like a fool, and you will fix your own car because you acted like a fool. Does that sound fair?
That's what I said.
Perfect. Goodbye. Oh, and $35 for her. Thank you.
Oh, these are excused. You may step out.
She wasn't my girlfriend. I didn't invite her down. She just showed up at the crib, so.
He didn't want us to leave. He didn't want me to leave.
All parties in the matter of Murray versus Easton, step forward, please.
23-year-old Lisa Murray is suing her ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old Ish Easton, for the cost of a plane ticket to New Jersey. Ish claims Lisa is being vindictive.
Miss Murray, Mr. Easton and you dated briefly, according to your complaint, and you believe he owes you for an airline ticket that you purchased for him in order that the 2 of you go home to meet the parents. And then you broke up for the trip. Mr. Easton says that the going home to meet the parents was strictly your idea. He never asked you to buy the ticket. You bought it on your own, so you pay for it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did you meet him?
February 2006. We were working together.
And when did you start dating?
We started dating in the beginning of June 2006.
And when did you want to go and introduce him to your family?
Through the month of June. We're in the beginning of July 2006. Our relationship became serious.
No. You're talking so fast I can hardly understand you. I asked you a simple question. When did you want to take him home to meet your parents?
July 2006.
After a full week? Why?
Well, I had missed my family very much, and he also said that he would like to go. He was excited about going to see New York City and seeing New Jersey.
If he was so excited, why didn't he buy his own ticket?
He currently did not have the money at the time, nor did he have a credit card.
What was the arrangement that you made with him?
That when we came back from our trip, that he would be reimbursing me.
And when did you break up?
September 7th, 2006.
And when were you supposed to go to New York?
September 9th, 2006.
I'll hear you.
After she had initially brought the idea to go visit her parents, I told her then, I was like, well, I don't have money.
No, look at me, look at me.
Oh, I told her then, I don't have money to pay you back for any kind of ticket before we even discussed repaying anything.
Why would you say that to her? I thought you made it work.
This is after we started dating, man.
No, listen to me. You're not listening. You don't have your listening ears on. You said, I don't have any money. And she just told me that you met at work in February of 2006. What kind of work were you doing?
I, at the time, was working at Home Depot, man.
And in July, where were you working?
I worked for a structural engineering firm.
And in August?
Still work there, man.
Okay, so you were working. You were employed.
Yes.
Do you have children?
No. Before dating Miss Murray, I was in a previous relationship. Separating from that relationship, I had to move back home. But upon moving back home, my parents were like, well, you got to help pay bills and stuff like that. So I pay half of everything.
So?
Leaving pretty much nothing.
Well, that's not true. You have money to eat out, right?
On occasion, ma'am. And that was money that I was like, Mom, you know, can I borrow $50 to go out? Or
Mr. Easton, when you discussed with Miss Murray going to New York, I don't believe that you said to her, I don't have the money to pay you now, and I'll never have the money to pay you back. Because I don't think that under those circumstances she would have continued to see you, because that would have sounded like something a bum would say. I don't have money now, maybe. I'll never have money to pay you back. I wouldn't have taken you to meet my parents. I would have been humiliated to take you. You're a bum. If you say, I'll never have any money to buy an airline ticket for $295. So I don't believe that you said that to her. I believe that you probably said to her, I don't have money to pay for it now. That I believe. Now, when did she buy the ticket?
she called me and was like, I bought tickets to go to New Jersey.
No, you had already discussed it. So don't say it came as a surprise to you.
I don't know.
It didn't come as a surprise.
I don't know the exact date of her.
When did you
buying
purchase the tickets?
July 25th, I purchased the tickets. I have phone calls.
Shh. And she told you that she purchased them in July.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And you were working in Home Depot.
I was working at Home Depot and the engineering firm at the same time.
So 2 places.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you do with the ticket?
I was unable to refund it because he broke up with me within 24 hours prior to canceling it.
You have the bill?
Yes.
Why did you break up right before you were ready to leave for New York, sir?
Well, there was a span of like 2 weeks where her and I barely ever saw each other, and that was because my work schedule at the engineering firm went from a regular 8-hour day to 9 to 12-hour days, and I didn't have time to see her. It was work, home, work, bed, pretty much.
Okay.
A gentleman that I play football with, his girlfriend and Miss Murray became very good friends, hanging out, had informed me that the plaintiff had gone to MySpace and read a quote that I'd written on MySpace. And that was one of the first issues. One of the other issues was
Did you say something not nice about her?
I didn't say anything toward her at all. The quote that I left on my page said, due to the pain caused by love, to love I say. And that was nothing toward her previous relationship exactly to that. Then it went from that to she had been saying, oh, I don't have money, I don't have money, I don't have money. Well, then my friend's girlfriend is like, oh, we went shopping today. And Lisa bought this, and Lisa bought that, and Lisa bought this.
Why does it make any difference to you whether she said I don't have money?
Well, because if you're going to tell me you don't have money, then how are you going to turn around and go shopping?
She wasn't asking for money from you, was she?
Initially broke up with her because she lies. You can trust a thief because you know they're going to steal. You can trust a killer, you know they're going to kill, but you can't trust a liar. I asked her, I said, well, did you go on my MySpace page and read that? She said no. And before that, I said, is there anything you want to tell me about that you haven't said to me in the past? No, there's nothing I can think of.
You're going to get your $295 back for the ticket. Before you leave, you should get down on the floor, on all fours, kiss the ground, and say, God, thank you for terminating this relationship, because this guy is no good. No bargain, no good, no way. I don't know much about you. I don't know if you're good, but I can tell you right now, he's a bum. He's always going to be a bum, because he makes excuses for what he does that bear no resemblance to reality. That's what he just did. He just gave me a whole cock and bull story. In reality, he probably found somebody else to cover some of his bills. Because when someone is so smitten with a woman, they don't not see them for 2 weeks. They may give up sleeping, but they won't go work, job, work, school, work, and not see the person for whom they have lost their heart. Do you understand?
Yes, yes.
So he made up a whole big story. Nothing in his story was true. So you're a very lucky girl that you got rid of him, because for somebody who doesn't like lying, he has become very proficient at it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $295. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Financially, he didn't have the money and had other obligations to pay for, and I became at the bottom of the list.
You know, you can't argue with it, so just live on, move on.
He's the one who stood in the courtroom and lied today.
I got things to do, life to live, and just would rather move on and not have to deal with it no more.
Just learn from it and move on.
All parties in the matter of Saucedo versus Trejo. Step forward.
22-year-old Leonardo Saucedo is suing his former roommate, 23-year-old Jessica Trejo, for breaking their apartment lease.
Mr. Saucedo, this young lady was a friend of yours, and you decided to rent an apartment together.
That's correct.
You signed a 1-year lease. It was a 2-bedroom apartment, from what I gather. You moved in. Shortly after you moved in, she moved out.
4 months later, yes.
and you were able to, it cost you several $1,000s, and you believe that because she moved out without any good cause, that she should be responsible for the early termination fees on the lease.
That's correct.
I've tried and tried to find the defense that is in Ms. Trejo's answer, and the best I can figure out is you were playing your radio too loud.
No, that's not true.
I don't know what her defense is. When did you move into this apartment, Mr. Saucedo?
We moved there September 2006.
And how long had you known the defendant before you decided to be roommates?
About a year. I had met her on MySpace.
You didn't have a romantic relationship?
We did prior to moving in. We were talking, kind of dating, but we ended that before we moved in because we didn't want to have conflict with each other.
And did that work out okay?
There was one occasion. Something happened, but that's it.
Everything else was...
Everything else was perfect.
She stayed in her room and you stayed in your room?
Exactly, yes. No problems. We both respect each other's space.
When did you move out?
February 2007.
Why?
Because I felt like I was not in a good environment, because he would have his music all loud. I would work 13 hours a day, 6 days out of the week, and my job is very serious.
What kind of job do you have?
I'm a laboratory technician.
Yeah?
And pretty much I have to get my sleep in order for me to do my bone marrow slides and whatever I do. And he would bring girls over to the house, always playing the music loud, and I could never get my sleep. I would come home 11 o'clock at night from work, and I would shut my door, try to go to sleep. I couldn't. There was always things slamming doors, slamming cabinets, and there was no way of me getting my sleep.
That's not true.
I would be going to sleep until 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning.
So that's your defense. Your defense was that he played the music too loud.
Not only that, Your Honor.
Well, then get to something more meaningful, madam.
Okay, another thing was we did have a sexual relation while we were living together. We did.
And?
And another thing was he owed a lot of money to me before we moved in. And, like, the money that he owed me and, like, the music and all that he was always playing. And not only that, but the foul language and the sex he was having with other girls. And I would always bring my friends over, which it was a 14-year-old daughter from my best friends.
Yeah.
And they would come over and come and visit me. And when they would come and visit me, it was at the wrong time, to the point that he would be having sex and the 14-year-old girl would be listening to that.
It's not true.
I'm still waiting for a legal reason for you moving out and breaking your lease.
Because it was not an environment for me to be in.
Should have thought of that before you signed the lease.
He was not like that the way we were.
He was always like, you mean he's a psychopath? He's got bipolar disorder? He's 2 different personalities? You know him for a year. This is who he is.
Yes, but before that, when we moved in together, he was not the way he was before.
So?
It was a whole totally different person.
So what you do is, since you work 12 hours a day, you say, listen, I'm going to stay in this apartment. You leave. I'll take over the lease. But I'm not happy with living with you here. You just don't leave.
I did tell him that. I gave him my 30-day notice.
You can't give him 30-day notice. You have a 1-year lease. How could you give him 30-day notice? Tell him I'm leaving, goodbye, I'm giving you 30 days?
I did give him a 30-day notice. Plus, not only that, but I just felt like I couldn't be in the apartment anymore. It was affecting with my job.
So I just told you what you should have done. You should have said to him, I think you have to move out because we're not getting along.
I told him that we needed to move out.
Not we.
And
not we, he.
Okay, well, I did not want it to be there no longer either.
Why? No,
I was going to pay whatever was the rest on the lease.
Yes.
Okay? Now, he decided not to leave from there because he didn't want to live with his grandparents anymore.
You're double-talking, Ms. Trejo. You're double-talking.
He did not want to live with his grandparents.
I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about you. Why didn't you say to him, I can't stand your music. I can't stand your socials. You move out, and I'll stay in the apartment. Or you stay in the apartment, I'll move out. If you can't get another roommate, I'll pay the rent or the early termination fees.
We did have a communication in that. And sometimes I wouldn't be able to have a communication with him because of my overtime and the hours I was working. So I would leave a note to him, letting him know the problems that it would affect me in my environment, that me being there. So...
You can't act like a baby. You can't pack up your suitcase and leave when you have a lease, when you have an obligation. Do you understand that?
I understand.
Where did you go when you left him?
I had went back.
I don't want you to think about where you went. I want you to just tell me where you went.
To my mom's house.
That's an answer. And are you still there?
Yes, I am.
And you don't pay rent?
Yes, I do.
How much rent do you pay?
$500.
I don't believe you. How's that? I don't believe you. I think that you're a slick talker, but I think you did the wrong thing with regard to this young man. You have no valid reason that you moved out of that apartment. None. The radio was too loud? Tell him to turn the radio down. You wrote him letters? Let me see the letters. I assume you kept a copy.
No, I didn't.
Well, of course not, because it's a lot of baloney. You don't like him having women in the apartment? That was your arrangement. Your arrangement was you were moving in as friends. That's why you moved into a 2-bedroom apartment instead of a 1-bedroom apartment. How much did you pay in fees to terminate the lease?
In total, I paid $4,145, but I'm only suing for $3,080 because I'm paying for my half of the rent for the 2 months.
Let me see your figures, please. How many months did you stay there, Mr. Saucedo, after she moved out?
The first week of March was my last week there.
And where did you go?
Back to my grandma's house.
How old are you?
22.
And you?
23.
That's where you belong. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,080. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's unfortunate I had to come down to this, but I mean, I have to get my money back.
I just feel like it was kind of unfair at the same time.
Things happen in life that nobody has answers to, and this is one of the unfortunate things that happens.
I pretty much gave him whatever he wanted.
We're both young, people. We were single.
Pretty much almost like taking care of him, but I guess that wasn't enough.
All parties in the matter of Smith versus Edwards. Step forward.
Real estate agent Chavez Smith is suing her former friend and client, Erica Edwards, for a loan to pay her mortgage payments.
All right, well, this is one of those little complicated cases that Bert and I are going to try to figure out together. Miss Smith, you and Miss Edwards were friends. By the way, are you a licensed realtor?
Yes, I am.
In what state?
California.
According to your complaint, Miss Edwards wanted to sell her home.
Yes.
And you had initially found a buyer, but that deal fell through.
Yes, ma'am.
So you and Miss Edwards entered into this rather convoluted arrangement.
Yes.
Whereby you would make the mortgage payments on her home.
Yes.
While you were trying to find a purchaser.
Yes.
You might also rent the house while you were looking for a purchaser.
Yes.
And Miss Edwards would be out from under the problem of the mortgage, and she could go and live elsewhere. So far, is that about right?
Yes.
Yes. She did move out of the house, and it is your claim that you made, I believe, 4 mortgage payments for her.
Yes.
She owes you that money.
Yes.
Miss Edwards says that she found out that you had, in fact, rented the house, didn't tell her that you had rented the house, collected money from the new tenant, did not pay the mortgage on time, thereby ruining her credit. She is counterclaiming for ruining her credit and for the money that you got from renting her house. When did you move out of your house, Miss Edwards?
I moved out May the 29th.
When was the first mortgage payment due?
May the 1st.
Is that the mortgage payment she was supposed to make?
Correct.
But you were living in the house the entire month of May.
She gave me the okay to take that money to put a deposit down on the apartment while she put tenants into the house.
Is that right?
Yes,
So you were supposed to make May's payment?
Yes.
And it's due on May the 1st?
Correct.
Did you make May's payment?
Yes, I did.
When?
June 8th.
Well, that's late.
Yes.
That's unacceptable. You understand that?
No, I didn't tell her that the payment would be made on time. I was helping her.
No, Miss Smith.
I was helping her out of the
Miss Smith,
situation.
I read that in your answer to her counterclaim. And you said, well, I told her that I was going to make the payments, but I never said I would make the payments on time. It is presumed in the law that if you agree to take over the mortgage payment, it's understood. The same way it's understood if you say, I'll take over the mortgage payments, that you don't pay them in rupees or yen. You pay them in U.S. dollars. You don't have to write it out that you're going to pay them in U.S. dollars. You say, I'm going to take over the mortgage payments, and they will be paid. And they will be paid on time. You don't have to write on time.
But, Your Honor, we didn't come to that agreement until after she had moved out May 29th.
So you're saying you didn't come to the agreement to make the mortgage payment for May 1st.
Until it was already late.
Until it was, I see that. Is that correct?
That is not correct, Your Honor. We made this agreement the beginning of May.
When the beginning of May?
Around May 1st, because there's a grace period for the mortgage up until the 15th. And Ms. Smith agreed to go ahead and use my mortgage money for that month to put a deposit down on the apartment where I was moving to. That's not correct.
No, I believe you.
That's not correct.
Just a second. I believe you and I don't believe her. that she did not pay May 1st's mortgage payment on time, and you did not come to an agreement with her about this until after the mortgage payment for May was late. But then you had an agreement.
Yes.
So June 1st, you should have paid June's mortgage.
No, I paid June's mortgage on June 20th because I paid May's mortgage June 8th, so I paid June's mortgage June 20th.
And July?
And July, I paid July and August late.
When did you make the payments?
I made the payment both in September.
Well, that's unacceptable, Ms. Smith. That's unacceptable. So she has a legitimate gripe if she had reasonable credit, and I don't know if she did, and she said that this destroyed her credit, that you made these mortgage payments late. She has legitimate beef. How much were the mortgage payments you made for her?
It was $1896.41 times 4.
Just a second.
1896 and 41 cents.
7584. Okay. Now, you put a tenant into the house.
Yes, I did.
When?
They moved in June, but their payment wasn't good until July.
Why?
Well, the house was vacant, and they were in a situation to where they didn't have anywhere to go. So I allowed them to move in June and pay me for July.
How much did they pay you?
$1,450.
How much in total did you receive from these tenants?
I received $2,900 from the tenants.
The tenants also gave her a $1,000 deposit.
Did you add that in?
Yeah, oh no, they gave a $1,000 deposit, which was refunded to them.
Okay. I am deducting the amount she was paid by the tenants. Do you understand?
Yes.
Show me your credit score before June and show it to me after.
I wasn't able to get the credit score after, but I do have it before June.
Well, you have to show me both. How do I know that you were damaged? That's your counterclaim, that your credit score was damaged because your mortgage was paid late. Isn't that your counterclaim?
Yes.
Well, how am I supposed to see that? Okay, so you have no counterclaim that you can prove. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if she paid your mortgage late and you could show damages as a result of paying the mortgage late, I would give you a certain amount to compensate you for that bad credit, but you can't prove that to me. Okay. Is there any reason why you don't owe her for these mortgage payments, $4,684? When did you move back into the house?
September the 15th.
She never moved back in.
September the 15th, the tenants moved out.
But she never moved in.
Who did?
Nobody. She left the house vacant until she just recently sold it a couple months ago. So
I moved back to the house.
Just a second. Hold it. Did you move back to the house?
Yes, I did.
In September?
September the 15th, when the tenants moved out.
And when did you sell the house?
September the 19th.
The house 4 days later?
Yes. I didn't move my stuff. My stuff was in storage. I was there at the house.
Don't play with me. Will you please?
I'm not.
So you're playing with me. How much did you sell the house for?
$394,000.
How much did you pay for it?
$125,000.
Why didn't you give her the mortgage payments that she laid out for you?
What mortgage payments?
The mortgage payments that she paid for you.
The tenants that were there gave her the money for her to pay the mortgage.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
Show me that.
They're her friends. They were friends of hers.
Just a second. Show me that.
They were friends
Bring
of hers.
Bring a witness.
And they did not want to be involved.
Listen to me.
These are friends that she moved into the house.
Listen to me, my dear. She made mortgage payments totaling almost $8,000. According to her, she got rent for a 2-month period, which I have deducted $1,450. Were they month-to-month tenants, or did they sign a lease?
They signed a lease.
They signed a lease that I was not aware of.
What difference does it make? That was your agreement with her. She's not your mother. Why would she make your mortgage payment? Your agreement was she was going to rent the house. She was going to make the mortgage payment until such time the house... I'm speaking! Thick. Until such time as the house could be sold, then she would recoup her money and everybody would be happy. I mean, what do you think? This is a windfall? You think you get somebody else to pay your mortgage, you make $200,000 on the house, and you don't have to pay it back? What are you, an idiot?
No, I'm not.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $46.84. That's all. Step out. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Business, friendship, and family really don't mix.
I guess the moral to all this is don't get business mixed with friendship.
At the end of the day, if somebody's trying to help you out as a friend, you would think that you would at least try to uphold your end of the bargain.
Be wiser and know what type of people you're dealing with.
I hate that it came to this.
We haven't talked since last year.
Sometimes people in your life are for a reason or season, and I guess this was just a reason. I help her transition to wherever she needs to be, and I'll move forward.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of parent versus parent. Step forward, please.
Sonny Parent is suing his ex-wife, Stephanie Parent, for the return of a laptop computer. Stephanie says that Sonny needs to move on.
You two folks had a short-term marriage, and from what I gather, a relatively amicable divorce. Is that right?
Correct.
Yes.
Did you have lawyers?
No.
Did you use the court system?
Yes.
Filed papers?
Yes.
Clerks had to read the papers?
Correct.
Judge had to read the papers? Judge's law secretary had to read the papers before you were granted the divorce? So you gobbled up your share of the justice system, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
You're not going to gobble up any more time over nonsense. This is what this case is about. While you were married, there was a computer purchased.
Correct.
You say it was purchased for your business. She says it was purchased as a gift for her. I don't care. He doesn't care. You have two different versions of how she got her hands on the computer. You say she borrowed it. She says you borrowed it. I don't care. He doesn't care. How much was the computer?
$699.
When was it purchased?
In July, I do believe.
July 13th, 2006.
Yes.
So this $700 computer is now maybe worth $400. Who has the computer?
I do.
Do you want the computer or do you want to pay him $200?
I'll take the computer and pay him $200.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. That's all. Step out.
Parties excused.
I got $200 for a $400 computer. I'm happy.
Quick and easy.
It was tons of other things that led up to this.
My opinion is it was a gift, and a gift's a gift.
She came up with every excuse in the world.
Friendship, no relationship.
A bad 10-month marriage.
No, I'll just keep it that way. It's better off.
Once it's over, stay gone. Don't get back in.
Ted Kelly is suing his granddaughter's friend, 18-year-old Nicholas Rundy, for crashing his car while driving intoxicated. Nicholas says the accident wasn't his fault.
Mr. Kelly, this is your...
granddaughter.
And you own a car?
Yes.
You let your granddaughter use the car?
Yes.
What kind of car is it?
It's a 2002 Pontiac Grand Am.
You're a very, very good grandpa.
Yeah, I try to be.
How many grandchildren do you have?
4.
Is this the oldest?
Yes.
You don't play favorites, do you?
Try not to.
Try not. I know. Well, Mr. Rundy over here wrecked your car. And he says, it's not my fault. It's somebody else's fault.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you wreck Mr. Kelly's car?
April 4th, I do believe.
At what time of the day or evening did you wreck his car?
Around 10 o'clock at night.
Where had you been earlier that evening?
Over at Alicia's house.
How many people were at Alicia's house?
Her, myself, Philip, and 2 of my friends.
So 1 girl.
1 girl.
And 4 boys.
4 boys.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ted Kelly claims his granddaughter's friend, 18-year-old Nicholas Rundy, wrecked his car during a night of drinking. Nicholas says Ted's granddaughter is also to blame.
Now, how old is Alicia?
18.
And who does she live with?
By herself.
By herself?
Mm-hmm.
What time did you get there?
8 o'clock, probably. She called Philip's cell phone to have us come over just to hang out.
Don't offer me any information that I didn't ask for, Mr. Rundy.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll get all the information I need. At what time did you take Mr. Kelly's car?
9:30 or so.
How much had you been drinking?
A couple glasses of mixed drink.
Of what?
Rum, I do believe.
Who mixed them?
We did.
Who's we?
Me and Philip and everybody. They were pouring our own drinks.
Who mixed your drink?
Me.
And who mixed your second drink?
Myself.
And if you had a third drink, who would have mixed your third drink?
Myself.
Where did you get the mixers from?
We didn't have any mixers. We were just pouring them from the bottle.
Well, then that's not a mixed drink, unless you were mixing scotch and rye, and you weren't mixing alcohol, were you?
No.
Because that would have been really dumb.
Right.
So were you having straight drinks or mixed drinks?
Straight drinks.
So you had a few straight drinks, and you took the car about 9 o'clock at night. Who was in the car with you when you took it?
Philip.
And at what point did the car get wrecked?
Around 9:45, I do believe.
Did you receive any sort of citation that day from the police department?
No, ma'am.
Did the police arrive at the scene?
Yes.
Did they give you a breathalyzer test?
No.
Did they take you to a hospital?
No. They just questioned me about the car and arrested me for public intoxication.
So you didn't get a citation, you got arrested?
Yeah.
So if you got arrested for public intoxication, you must have been really drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were driving?
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you live with?
My father now.
Did your mother throw you out?
No, I had to move.
Why?
Wasn't doing the right thing in Indiana.
Is that where your mother lives?
Yes, ma'am.
So your mother had enough of you moved to?
Cocoa Beach, Florida.
Who does your father live with?
Himself and me and my brother.
And what are you doing in Florida now?
About to go to school and just looking
So
for a job
right now you're doing nothing?
Yeah.
About to go to school, about to get a job, right now you're doing nothing?
Yeah, I just moved down there.
Now, Mr. Rundy, you are going to explain to me, sir, why this accident was not your fault. Or please pay careful attention, because in case I missed something, I really want somebody to give me a poke, to be able to say, you missed it, you know, you missed the important part.
I'm here for you.
Thank you.
All right.
We're both all ears, Mr. Rundy.
I'm not trying to say that it's not my fault.
Well, that's what you said in the answer. You said, let me tell you what you said in the answer, Mr. Rundy,
Okay.
which caused me to do this torturing routine that I did for the last 5 minutes.
Right.
Alicia, the other 18-year-old idiot who was drinking that night with 4 guys, she's the reason why I had to go to jail. That's what you wrote here.
I didn't know.
And had to take classes for first-time offenders. Did you have to take classes for
Yes,
first-time
I did.
offenders? I was surprised to learn that Mr. Kelly is suing me. Alicia should pay her grandfather for the money he is asking. Mr. Kelly is suing the wrong person. That's what you wrote. So now what you're telling me is that was all a big mistake?
No, it's not a big mistake. I feel she should have some responsibility in her car. I know what I did was wrong, and I know that, but...
She wasn't in the car.
She gave me the keys to her car, though.
Yeah.
So where's the responsibility come in at?
How much do you weigh?
180.
You think that she could carry you, put you in the car, take your hand, put the key in the ignition,
I have no
turn
idea.
it on? You don't think she could do that, do you?
No.
Only you could do that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're the one who poured your own alcohol.
Yes, ma'am.
You're the one who put the glass to your lips and guzzled it down.
Yes, ma'am.
You're the one that took your behind and put it behind the wheel of a car where you could have killed somebody.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're the one who's going to pay for Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly, were you able to have the car fixed?
Yes, I was.
And how much did it cost you, Mr. Kelly?
Over $5,000.
You have the bill for it?
Yes.
Can I see it, please? Mr. Kelly, your granddaughter, Alicia, I must tell you, I believe, did not act responsibly that evening. That doesn't mean that he's off the hook. That just means that if I were you, I wouldn't give her back the car.
I'm sorry.
Did you give her back the car?
Yes, after I got it fixed.
That was a big mistake. I wouldn't have given her back the car. She behaved irresponsibly. You understand that, don't you?
Yes.
Taking advantage of your grandfather. I wouldn't let you take advantage of me. I'll tell you that right now. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Mr. Rundy, you better get busy and get back to Florida. Hurry up, hustle, get a job. Hustle, hustle, bustle.
All right.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Jennifer Day is suing her ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old Spencer Fenimore, for breaking a lease. Spencer claims there was no lease to break.
Miss Day, you and Mr. Fenimore lived together for a period of time, signed a lease on an apartment, lived together during the course of that lease. The lease was renewed, according to you, for another 6 months, and Mr. Fenimore moved out after a month or so. You want him to be responsible for his half of the remainder of the lease. Mr. Fenimore, while he acknowledges that you signed an initial lease together, his defense is that he did not sign the renewal, that you must have signed for him. You knew that he was intending to leave, that things weren't going well between the two of you, and he is not responsible for the second part of the lease. So can I see the first lease that you signed? When did you move in together?
It was, I believe, December 2004.
Well, the lease was signed November 2005.
I think it was 2004. I'm not real correct on that.
Well, what am I looking at? November
That's
29,
probably our
2005. What?
It's probably our renewal lease.
I didn't ask for the renewal. I asked for the original lease.
This isn't the actual lease, but it's part of the first lease that has the 12/8/04 date that Spencer
Can I
was
see
speaking
it,
of.
please? Okay. So the original was signed on 12/8/04, and you claim the renewal was signed by him on November 29th, 2005.
That's correct.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you sign the renewal?
Yes.
You said in your answer you didn't sign the renewal.
I signed the renewal that went from November 2005 until May 2006. She's suing me from May 2006 to November 2006.
Got it. So who has that renewal?
The one that I handed to you shows that we went in the office and verbally renewed, and I have a letter from the office dated June 1st.
You can't verbally renew. Cannot verbally renew a 6-month lease. That's ridiculous. He says he did not renew the lease. You have no proof that he did renew the lease.
If he didn't want to renew the lease, Your Honor, he shouldn't have stayed there till July.
Because then you can have a month-to-month tenancy.
Okay.
You can have a month-to-month tenancy and pay every month until the landlord says, listen, I don't want to give you a month-to-month tenancy anymore. You have to leave within 30 days. Then you leave.
Right.
But you can't obligate him. Sorry, case is dismissed.
21-year-old Laura Termini is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Justin Jordan, for punching out the windshield of her car and impound fees.
This was your boyfriend. You had an argument while you were driving in a car. You were the driver?
Yes, ma'am.
He was the passenger. During the course of the argument, he got very angry and he hit the windshield, or he hit a mirror in your car which broke the windshield. You want him to pay for that?
Yes, ma'am.
And I assume that after this incident, you were no longer boyfriend and girlfriend, but about a month later, you had to go to the airport. So you were stupid enough to ask him if he would drive you to the airport and he could keep your car and use it while you were away. So he took you to the airport. According to him, he parked it where he shouldn't have parked it. It got towed, and it cost you a whole bunch of money to get the car out of the towing facility. So far, is that about right, Mr. Jordan?
Yeah, that's correct.
No. Look at me. Look at me,
Yes.
smarty pants. Yes, Judge, that's correct.
Yes, it is. Correct.
All right. Mr. Jordan's defense is he broke the windshield in the car instead of breaking your face, because that's how mad he was. So he hit something that couldn't really injure. Am I reading it right?
Yes, you are.
And the second part about taking the car and having it towed, he says, well, you should have come home from your vacation early and taken care of your problem, right?
Right, yes, ma'am.
Mr. Jordan, did you eat spinach as a child? Regularly?
Yeah.
Now, I want you to tell me when this incident was, Mr. Jordan, in the car.
Late August.
August of 2006.
August of 2006.
All right. Where were you coming from, sir?
We were coming from our apartment, and we were taking the cat to the vet, which was neglected, and it was dying, and I was very off. And that's the bottom line.
Whose cat was it?
It was hers.
What kind of cat was it?
It was a Savannah F2.
A Savannah F2.
Yeah.
What is that?
It just has some wild cat in it, so it's like half wild, half regular cat.
How long had you had the cat?
About 6 months.
And when you say she neglected the cat, Mr. Jordan, what do you mean she neglected the cat?
It means it didn't have its proper shots. It wasn't taken care of correctly. It was not fed the right food.
Okay. So you were angry with her that you were taking the cat to the vet?
Yeah, it was dying.
And what did you do?
Well, she was degrading me, putting me down, and
Well, what did she say to you, Mr. Jordan?
a bunch of stuff like worthless and just stuff like that, you know?
She called you worthless?
Yeah, stuff like that, yeah.
What else did she call you?
A bunch of profound words that I can't say on TV, but,
You mean
know.
profanity, not
Profanity,
profound.
yes.
So what did you do?
So I punched the windshield.
And who's responsible for that?
She is.
Because she made you angry.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you took her to the airport
Yes.
in her car, and then you took her car to work.
Yes.
Did you park it in a place where you shouldn't have parked the car?
No.
You mean the police made a mistake in
Yes.
towing your car?
Yes.
Was it parked near a fire hydrant? Was
No, they say it was blocking a driveway.
blocking a driveway?
Yeah.
But there was no driveway.
No, there was a driveway, but it was not blocking a driveway.
You mean somebody could have squeezed through?
Definitely. No, it wasn't blocking a driveway.
You mean they just selected your car at random because you ate your
No.
spinach as a child?
No.
So what happened when you came out and found the car no longer there, Mr.
So it was
Jordan?
gone, and I went to Anaheim Police Department, and I couldn't get it out.
Well, when you went to the Anaheim Police Department, what were you told?
She had to come get it out.
And you said that she was on vacation.
Yes, I did.
Did you contact her?
Yes, I did.
Did you ask her to send you a letter of authorization so that you could get the car?
Yes, I did.
And did she send it?
No, she didn't.
Why not?
Because he said that he didn't have the money to pay it. So if I send it, he wouldn't pay it anyway.
Is that what you told her?
No.
What did you tell her?
I told her to come get it out.
Who was supposed to pay for it?
I told her I was going to pay for it.
Oh, good. So?
If she came home and got it out, but she remained in New York for another 5 days. That's
Well-
why that bill is so expensive.
Oh, the bill is so high, sir, because you parked in a driveway.
No, it was $160, and whatever she paid, that's her fault.
tell me how much the impound fees were.
Together with the ticket, $435.
And the windshield?
It is $1,097.
Did you have the car fixed?
No, I haven't. I don't have the money to have it fixed.
Okay. Anything else you want to say to me, Mr. Jordan, before I let you go on your way, sir?
No.
Wasn't this a pleasant experience? Judging for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,530.
Paid for the damage.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is number 90 on the calendar in the matter of Farkas versus Bull. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Mr. Farkas, if you tell me the story in as interesting a manner as you wrote it in your papers, it's going to be a fun morning. So, relax and tell me your story.
Well, I was traveling westbound on Sunset Boulevard heading towards Highland. I get to the corner of Highland with a plan to make a right turn. I'm in the far right lane. The light changes. I move forward a foot or a yard. All of a sudden, bam! Mr. Bull over here smashes me from the middle lane of Sunset because he's decided to make a right turn onto Highland. So we pull into a strip center right nearby, and I'm reaching for my documents. I'm just trying to compose myself, and he saunters over to my window, and in his way, oh, I'm so sorry I did this. This is terrible. I had my mind on other things, and I'm getting a divorce. I'm saying, please, I don't want to know. Just let's go with the license and registration. So I look at his license.
A divorce? I just got married, so I can't be getting a divorce.
I'm going to get to you in a second.
I read his license. Dwayne Xavier Bull. License expires in '95. Do you have insurance? No, this I don't have. I look at his license plates, New Mexico license plates. So what are we going to do? He says, I just want to pay for it. Why don't you just take it over to a... So I asked him, what beseeched you? What possessed you to make this turn?
Your Honor,
he says, I saw my boyfriend on Highland Avenue with another man, and I got so upset. I said, I'm not interested. What are you going to do? He says, I'm going to pay. He says I'm going to pay for it. I tell him I'm going to go right now to get an estimate, and I'm going to bring it to you, and you'll pay for it, and we'll forget the whole thing. Now, the man, can I show this to the judge, please?
Yeah.
The day, exactly at the incident, I wouldn't leave the scene without him signing this. It clearly says, Dwayne Xavier Bull agrees to pay me. He caused the accident. Fine, so he does it. So what happens next? I call him and call him and call him. No answer. He gives me his pager. His salon is on Sunset. Following morning, I walk into his place of business. I walk in, and this young lady takes over. Divorce, marriage, the French woman, I don't know, but she starts. Excuse me, I will handle this. Dwayne has no money. Well, that's good. That's good. What are we going to do? But we want to fix your car, so we want you to take your car to Vahe.
To who?
Vahe.
Vahe.
So Vahe, the Armenian auto body repair. It's right. There's more documents to establish it. I pick up the telephone. I say, I'm not leaving here till I speak to Vahe, so it's perfectly clear that Vahe fixes my car, he pays for it, and I go home. I call up Vahe, and I say, Vahe, do we understand each other? Dwayne Xavier Bull, I'm going to bring my car to Jenemsveld in the valley somewhere, and you should only know where, I don't know where it is. You have to take a cow to get there. So, Vahe, do we understand each other? You're going to fix the car, and Dwayne Xavier Bull is going to pay for it. He says, no problem. We know Dwayne. You bring your car. You'll be very happy. Following morning, my wife and kid in tow with the Camry behind us. We're trucking out to no man's land. Oh, excuse me. Here's the document that says that he agrees to pay Varaz Auto Repair when I bring the car to him. Okay. Dwayne, can you give me a chance?
Mr. Bull, I'm going to let you tell the defendant's side of the story as soon as he's finished, okay? Go ahead.
So I get to Varaz. Vahe's a very nice guy. He says, leave the car, no problem. On my way home, I'm telling my wife, there's no shot in the world that this problem is over. Sure enough, like clockwork, Vahe's boss calls me. Bob the Armenian. Bob, we have a problem. Of course we have a problem. Dwayne Bull didn't come to pay for the car, right. He says, we agreed that he would just pay for the parts and we'll give him time on the labor. The man doesn't come. So I start calling him, Vahe's calling him, Bob is calling him. The man doesn't return calls. Finally, he threatens me on the telephone. I called West Hollywood Police. He says to me, if you call me and harass me anymore, I'll have people beat you up. I call West Hollywood Police, but they're busy with seatbelts. They can't handle this.
How long are you in California, sir?
Not long.
How long were you in California at the time of this accident?
Unfortunately, only about 60 or 90 days, and although it's not relevant to the case, 45 days before this incident, I move into a house on April 4th, and the following day I wake up in the morning and the house is on fire. I'm carrying my baby out in the fire at 2 o'clock in the morning. And if I make, oh yes, we heard it enough, well here's an official document from the fire department establishing that happened. I know it's not relevant, I'm sorry.
It has nothing to do with the case.
Okay, so did you get your car?
I actually paid for it yesterday for a full month. I mean, this man wreaked havoc on my life.
How much was the...
$1,800.
It was 19 at first.
Excuse me.
You want to pay 19?
Excuse me. The day I came to him in his salon, I showed him the first estimate that I told him I would get was for 18 and change. Varaz, his own people, estimated at 1,800. And that's what I paid for it. And
$1,800.
$1,800. So this is his own people. This is Vahe's estimate.
Okay, Mr. Bull, you've been anxious to tell me your side of the story. Now I'm prepared to hear you, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Farkas' car. He agreed to pay for the repair. He never came by to pay for it.
Paper.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dwayne Bull, a Hollywood hair and makeup specialist, says his collision with actor Peter Farkas on Sunset Boulevard was Farkas's fault, and he shouldn't have to pay for the damage.
Now I'm prepared to hear you, sir.
Okay, Your Honor, the way I see it is, yes, he is correct. I was traveling west on Sunset Boulevard.
Stop playing with the papers. Talk to me.
Okay, I was just looking for a little document I wanted to show you as an exhibit. Okay, here it is. I was traveling west. Could you pass this to her, please? I was traveling west on Sunset Boulevard. Now, he was in the far right-hand turning lane, and it was 5 o'clock traffic. I truly believe that he was in that lane because on Sunset Boulevard, people get in that lane to speed, to go fast. Your Honor, the way I was hit on the way my car personally was hit, if you look at the estimate, it was hit on my right side front door. Okay, so what I did was I put a signal to turn right. I think he was in this lane to go forward because he was not in eyesight, nor did he have a signal.
So you weren't you weren't in the far right lane, correct?
No, I wasn't. I signaled to go.
You were not in the far right lane. You were in the center lane.
Yes. No, the lane next to the far right lane.
But he was in the far right lane.
Yes, right. Exactly.
So you went to make a right turn.
No, I signaled to
You
make
went
a right
to
turn.
make a right turn.
Yes.
And you were not in the far right lane.
No.
Right. You got out of the car. You went over to this gentleman. You signed a piece of paper indicating that you were prepared to pay for the damage. Right?
Yes. I had not even had the car a day, okay? And yes, I was nervous because I did not have insurance. And yes, I was nervous.
You didn't have insurance?
I didn't have insurance, and I didn't have a driver's license.
That's right.
Okay, so I really was nervous.
So you didn't want, listen to me.
So I didn't want trouble with the police department.
That's
right. But
right.
not only that, he got personal with me. He asked me, was I gay, okay? And I responded, no, he was coming on to me at the time. And I played with the party too. Yes, I'm married, but of course I'm going to play into it because I didn't want the police. And I felt if he thought I was gay, then maybe he liked me. It's obvious. He's Nelly.
Okay. Mr. Bull. Now
this is true.
I want you to stop talking. Listen to me. I'm going to ask questions. You're going to answer them. He came to your salon. Now, he got to Viha, the Armenian, through you. Is that correct?
Yes. I'm being totally honest. I was nervous. That's the only reason I signed this paper. I did not want to go to jail. Okay? My wife told me, listen, this guy is at fault. He's in our business, and he's screaming, irate, loud. He's from New York. He's obnoxious. It's obvious he's obnoxious. Look at him. Okay? He calls on my phone repeatedly. He tells me about his house caught on fire, how his kids are hungry. He needs his van to transport his kids. All this irrelevant stuff while I have very important clients that are there. In fact, my wife is here as proof that I had a client that sit there in the chair when I disputed with him for 20 minutes in my business, screaming because he has no patience and he acts immature. He screamed, 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 and I lost the client. She requested her $150 deposit back for, you know, the services that were being rendered, her hair extension. I am a popular hairstylist, and only thing I ever stated to this man is that when you want to speak to me, you do not call me at home and you make an appointment like everybody else.
Is that what is? Just
Yes.
a minute. Have we now completed your side of the story?
No, I have one more thing to say.
I'm ready to hear you, sir.
Your Honor, again, yes, I admit that my driver's license had expired. But again, from the way my car was hit, he said I hit him. It's obvious he hit me. From the way
That's really not urgently important, sir. I'm going to tell you why. Mr. Farkas had the right at that time, because there was an accident, to pick up the phone and call the police to have them come to the accident.
But why didn't he?
Why? Because
I had... No, because you had problems with your license, too. I'm almost certain you did. You had some kind of problem.
You looked at my license and said, you know, you're a typical Gemini. That was his comment.
Mr. Bull, you, sir, had no insurance and did not want the police to come because you were also driving with a suspended license. He gave up the right to call the police, to have the police come and make a determination based upon, don't interrupt me, based upon what they saw, whose fault this accident was. You said to him at the time,
He never mentioned police.
I will take care of the damage, and you signed a piece of paper indicating you would take care of the damage.
I signed that paper again because I was nervous.
Well, I don't care whether you were
Anybody
nervous or
signs
not.
paper, I mean, under
not,
pressure.
listen,
I mean,
I
I
want
was
you to get-
nervous.
I want you to get not nervous,
My
Mr.
personal
Bull.
lifestyle had nothing to do with this case whatsoever. And for him to mention those things about my personal, I think that it was very irrelevant. And it's obvious that, again, from the way the position my car was hit, that it was his fault. But of course, he's not going to admit it.
Your Honor, I was doing...
And you did real good.
I was doing the man a favor.
Doing me a favor.
He's telling me
Mr.
about
Farkas.
his wife
Doing me a
problem,
favor.
telling me about the two-timing boyfriend. I mean, the man's got, you know, his sexual confidence. He's a menace on the road.
Mr. Farkas, Mr. Farkas.
I'm sorry. What the hell's so funny?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
He has no idea what my feelings are if I like to ride bicycles. He doesn't know that about
I
me.
dated him for 6 months. We've been friends for 9 months since then.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Farkas, you paid the $1,800 to have your
I
car
did.
fixed? Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,800. The defendant's counterclaim for harassment and all sorts of other things is dismissed.
Thank you,
Goodbye.
Judge. Excuse you may step out.
But you were very smart about getting those papers, because that's the only reason why you won this case. But other than that, she would have looked at it for my way. And another, I just think it's because you're blonde and blue-eyed.
I am absolutely convinced that Mr. Bull had his name shortened.
And now the next case.
All parties on Ryder versus Pullman. Step forward.
30-year-old marketing director Kirk Ryder says he loaned his bicycle to his ex-boyfriend Klaus Pullman, and it was stolen. So now Klaus should pay.
All right. Mr. Ryder, you say that you lent a bicycle to the defendant, and he had it in his possession for a long time, and then through his negligence, the bicycle was stolen. You want your money for the bicycle.
Well, I wanted a new bicycle, basically.
Did you lend him a new bicycle?
Pardon me? No, I
What
wanted
didn't you understand, sir?
I wanted my bicycle back.
Well, he couldn't give you your bicycle back.
Right. So we entered
So my
into...
question to you is, did you lend him a new bicycle?
No, I did not.
How old was the bicycle that you lent to him?
The bicycle was 3 years old.
And had you purchased it?
No.
How did you get it?
It was, I inherited it from my best friend who died.
And what kind of bicycle was this?
It was a Univega Via Modego, 15-speed, hybrid bicycle.
What happened to a Schwinn?
I don't know. Schwinns are more expensive now.
Are they?
Yeah.
I'm glad to see if they're still in business. At least it doesn't date me.
They are.
All right. So you had the bicycle for how long before you lent it to him?
I had the bicycles since July 1996, when my friend died, and Klaus borrowed it in or around November, I guess. I'm not even sure.
Well, then I gather you weren't using it much.
Well, I was traveling. I travel for a living, so
I
can't. I don't know which trip he borrowed it before. He borrowed it because his car broke down in the desert, and he was using his bicycle to get around. Then the bicycle he was using that he owned broke, and I offered to lend him mine.
So far, does that sound right?
Yes, except for when he loaned it to me.
When did he loan it to you?
In June, in the summer.
Of '96.
Of '96.
What happened to his bike?
It was stolen.
Mr. Pullman, you understand that the bike is in your possession, then you have a responsibility to either replace it or to give him some compensation for it.
He neglected the bicycle. He didn't want the bicycle. It didn't work. It sat in his dining room for 2 years while he was traveling.
Objection.
It didn't work.
Your Honor. What? Sorry. Well, he has no. That's speculation. He has no idea whether I wanted the bicycle or not. I, out of the goodness of my heart, lent him a bicycle that had some emotional value to me as well as physical value of getting around.
So it doesn't seem to me, I mean, have you been friends for long? It's just too bad that this bicycle is presenting a problem to you. Why don't you just replace the bicycle?
Because he didn't want the bicycle. He left it. I took care of it. I didn't neglect it. I locked it with my bike, with my roommate's bicycle. It was in my garage. All three were stolen. He didn't want it. He liked it in my garage and not in his dining room. That's why I had it for so long. He didn't want to come get it. He wouldn't let me return it. He travels a lot, so it was his schedule that was in question. I work at home. I'm always there. He neglected the bike. He gave it to me. He didn't give it to me. He loaned it to me. Asked me to keep it for him.
He loaned you the bike.
I took care of it.
Good.
I housed it.
Good.
It was stolen. It's out of my control.
Right.
He neglected the bike a year ago. He loaned it to me a year ago this month.
Your Honor.
Yes. Well,
He moved 2 blocks away from my house when he moved to West Hollywood.
Mr. Pullman.
He could have returned it.
Mr.
And
Pullman.
also, wait, one more thing. I believe that he did neglect the bike because I lent him the bike with a kryptonite lock, and he did not use that lock. He used a chain which could be cut easily.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. Kirk Ryder says his ex-boyfriend Klaus Pullman should pay for the bicycle he borrowed because it was stolen while in his possession.
the only thing that I have to decide is on a value of this bicycle because you did not purchase it. To replace it is a problem because to replace it, what you're seeking is the full replacement value of the bike, which is, you say, $399 to replace a bike of similar quality. Is that what you indicated?
Which is actually less than the bike that was stolen is valued at.
Well, bicycles, listen to me, sir. Bicycles are not like diamonds. They don't appreciate in value.
Oh, I know that.
They depreciate in value. So if it had been bought for $500, it depreciates probably 50% in the first year that somebody has it. So then you're down to $250. That's after 1 year. So you're not going to get anywhere near what this bicycle would cost new. But you have to pay something to him, sir. You accepted it into your care. That's what we call almost a bailment. Even if he was storing it at your house and you agreed to accept it for storage, right, you have a certain responsibility towards it. You said something about this lock.
It's a standard bicycle kryptonite lock. He loaned it to me with the bicycle, but he didn't loan me the key.
So what'd you do with his lock?
The lock is with the bicycle. It stayed with the bicycle. It has a holder for it.
Okay.
Which I couldn't get off without a key.
A tire pump and also a water bottle and cage. All accessories to the bike, which added to the value.
Mr. Ryder, stop getting so excited. It's a bicycle. It's a bicycle that you didn't ride and you didn't miss for a year.
I did ride, Your Honor.
You're irritating me. Listen to me. From the time you lent it to him until March of this year, according to your own statement, you really did not make a request for this bike.
I made one request.
Wait, so evidently
No,
it
I
wasn't
made two. I made two.
Evidently it wasn't something that was right at the forefront, the signpost on your face. You know, it was
Well,
just
I didn't ride it because it wasn't in my possession. I had loaned it to a friend. That's why I was not riding the bicycle.
And your friend is going to give you $150 that you can use towards purchasing a new bike. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $150. That's all.
Why is that excused? You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
We had talked about my replacing, compensating him for the loss of the bike, not because I felt responsible, but because I felt sorry for him.
Bottom line, he's bitter. There's a long, deep story that goes farther than this, but it's because he's bitter.
Randy is countersuing, claiming that in a violent rage, Lori threw an electric can opener at him, cutting off a portion of his ear.
Order, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 140 in the matter of Bona versus Gray. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir. Have a seat.
Ms. Bona, you have a rather interesting complaint, to say the least, madam. It's clear from your complaint that you assaulted the defendant and cut his ear in half. And
I assaulted him?
Yeah. You sort of acknowledge the fact that you did that. You're going to tell me the whole story, but you acknowledge the fact that as a result of picking up an object, you assaulted him and his ear was split. Is that the ear?
Yes, ma'am.
I see it. So you're suing him for $5,000 that covers the cost of your being arrested and bail and lawyer's fees, plus loss of work in defending yourself because he subsequently dropped the charges.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Okay, so let me hear, and then we'll get to your countersuit, sir, which you, I understand, have just filed today and served on the plaintiff. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Miss Bona, tell me about it.
Here's the statement to police, which ended...
No, tell me, don't give me the statement to the police. You tell me what happened. You two were together, were an item for years.
He came by my house.
Just a second. You two were an item. You lived together, dated...
No, he wasn't living there.
Dated for a long time. How long?
On and off?
Yes.
I'm not sure. Over a year.
Okay. But it was not a good relationship. It was an abusive relationship, you claim. So tell me what happened on this day.
He came by my house. I have the can opener here. I have pictures of the house to describe how the kitchen is. And he came by my house. He was really, really drunk and calling me names. And I said, "Go away, Randy." And I went to call the police. He grabbed the phone out of the wall, so I couldn't call the police. He came at me. He said I was, because I don't know why, he was drunk, very drunk. He'd been sitting up there for 3 hours.
Sitting up where?
It's, where was he? Bill's Market, where he goes to get drunk all the time. The corner market.
Okay, so he came into the house?
So he came, he called me a bunch of names. I said, "Leave me alone." And when he saw that I was going to call the police, he came after me. I thought he was going to hit me. I just reached for whatever I could. I said, "Stay away from me. Get back." And he came at me anyways, and I said, "Stay away," and I just swung it and it hit him in the air, and I really did not mean...
Let me see the can opener.
It's kind of old and been around. I'd like to demonstrate...
So's his ear. It's been around, right?
Your Honor, may I add something else?
Okay.
His last girlfriend... Okay. She broke his jaw with a 2x4.
So, well, he doesn't have much luck with women.
And he had it wired shut.
Okay, so is that the can opener that sliced your ear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so what did you do after you hit him with the can
I called
opener?
the police right away.
And what happened when you called the police?
Well, he grabbed the phone out of me. He said he was going to kill me, and I just ran because he's yelling about his ear.
So you left the house?
I left. I called the police. I said, "Here's the police."
Don't tell me the report. I'm more interested in what you have to say.
Okay.
Okay, so
I left.
You hit him. You saw he was bleeding?
Yes. I left, and I had my landlord right away. I said, "Mr. Fowler, take Randy to the hospital." And he went over to take Randy to the hospital. He wouldn't go. He had duct taped his ear.
Just a second.
It's in a police
now,
report.
Shh, Ms. Bona.
Sorry.
Hold it. Now, Mr. Gray, I read your answer. Were you drunk when you came to her house? No, don't look down.
I had a few beers, yes.
A few is how many?
4 or 5.
So you were a little bit...
No less than Lori had drank that night.
Yeah, but she didn't go to your house. You went to her house.
No, ma'am. We lived in that house together. We co-inhabited that house. It says so right in the police report.
When was the last time you slept there?
The night that this happened?
Well, before that night.
The night before that?
Had he been sleeping there? Look at me, Ms. Bona. Had he been sleeping there? You sure?
Yes, I swear under
Okay,
penalty.
well, maybe you forgot where you were sleeping, sir. Listen, you got to the house and you were a little bit drunk. You
No,
went
ma'am,
into the...
that's not how it started at all.
Well, how did it start?
We both came home from work at the same time. Lori picked a fight with me.
About what? Stop playing with the papers. She picked a fight with you about what?
About what I'd found in her purse. Because I asked her for a cigarette. When I walked in the door home from work, I said, Lori, do you have a cigarette? She said, look in my purse. I looked in her purse, found something there, shouldn't have been there, confronted her with it. She started screaming at me. I walked down to the store, give her and myself time to cool off, came back. I sat down on the...
So you left the house and you went to the store.
Which is 3 houses away.
And is this at this store where you had a beer or two?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So that part of the story isn't so different. You weren't in the house, you had a few beers, and then you came back to the house.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened when you came back to the house?
Lori threatened to call 911 on me because we were arguing, and every time we got in an argument, that was the first thing she would do is pick up the phone, call 911, say, help, he's trying to kill me.
Mm-hmm. So,
Then
what
I
happened?
told
She
her-
went to the phone, she's calling 911.
No, ma'am. I picked up the phone. I said, you know what, Lori, I'm going to call your work and tell them what kind of person you really are. I picked up the phone.
What were you going to tell them?
What was I going to tell them? Her actions, what she does, how she treats me, how she acts around the house, what she does
Our
off
boss
work.
wouldn't be interested in that, sir.
Well, that's right. That's when she hit me over the head, not once, but twice with the can opener, leaving a 3-inch gash right here and doing this to my ear.
Now, what I found interesting about your answer to this was you said that immediately after this happened, you fell asleep on the couch. And you waited for her to come home to take you to the hospital.
Yes, ma'am.
Why would she, after being so furious with you, to split your head open, why would you, if you were in your right mind, fall asleep on the couch and think that she was going to come home and take you to the hospital?
Because this kind of thing had happened many times before, only not to that extent.
All right. Now, ultimately, sir, you decided not to press charges. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
But you did, in fact, file a police report, so she was arrested.
Yes, ma'am. That's because when I came back to her house a week later after this happened, I went to the hospital, I left, I went and stayed with my mother. I came back to get my belongings, which was a lot of paperwork, tools, clothes. She told me that she'd thrown all those away. I had a pickup truck that was parked there. She had slashed all the tires, broke all the windows, stabbed the body parts full of holes. And that's when I told her, you know, I'm going to go press charges against you, Lori. And then she towed it out in the street to be towed away by the county.
You didn't see her do all the damage to the truck?
No, ma'am, but it was parked in front of her home. I'm sure she either did it or witnessed it.
She may have. Did you do all that? Ms. Vona, stop shaking your head now. It's very important that you tell me the truth, madam, because I'm like a truth. Stop looking.
I did not do that, Your Honor.
Well, who did all those things to his truck?
His ex-girlfriend's son, Jeremiah, she lives up the street. His ex-girlfriend, the one who broke his jaw with the 2x4, she couldn't get rid of him for 4 years. He started yelling at her that day, and Jeremiah came by and broke your windows. Why would I break your windows? It already looked ugly in front of my house. Why would I want an uglier truck in front of my house?
Okay.
The truck was ugly, ma'am. It was no doors. And I would like to demonstrate with this can opener that it's not consistent with an attack. But it was broken,
Listen.
how it got hit.
His ear is split open. Don't make it worse for yourself.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The reason we have a court, Ms. Vona, is because two people cannot agree. Two people cannot agree.
Yeah,
so
you
you
and
took that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Randy Gray is being sued by his former girlfriend, Lori Vona. She claims Randy had her arrested on false charges. Randy is countersuing because in a violent rage, Lori threw an electric can opener at him, cutting off a portion of his ear.
Now, what I find interesting is you didn't have her arrested immediately. Why?
Because I have a lot of feelings for Lori. I have a lot of feelings for her 2 children. I didn't want to see anybody get thrown in jail. I knew what kind of things that spousal abuse does to people nowadays, the new laws, and I couldn't see throwing somebody in jail, making her lose her job and her children. I just couldn't do it.
Listen to what you just said to me.
Yes, ma'am.
She attacked you with a can opener, your body, your person.
Yes, ma'am.
She slit your ear in half. I can see where it's cut. And you didn't press charges against her. Then she damaged your truck So you decided to press
Yes,
charges
ma'am.
against her. Does something not sound right to you, sir? She almost, according to you, she almost killed you.
No, ma'am, I didn't say that.
Well, that thing, hitting somebody on the head with that thing can kill them if it's
Yes,
placed
ma'am.
right? It could almost kill you. It only goes to show you, men have this peculiar thing with their trucks, their cars. Do you understand how foolish that sounds to a woman? You
Yes.
know, a woman would say,
Yes.
God, you put your hand on my finger,
Yes, ma'am.
and I'm going to have you arrested.
And I would have been arrested if I would have ever laid a finger on her or attacked her the way she says. I would have been in jail, guaranteed.
Now, why are you... So she's suing you for false arrest.
Yes, ma'am.
You ultimately dropped the charges against her.
Yes, ma'am. I called up the district attorney that was in charge of her case and told her I would come down there and lie for her. I lived at her house at this time when she was going to court for this.
Okay. Now, were the charges ultimately dropped?
I was completely exonerated when this had the evidence.
Just a second. Did you have a trial? Now,
No.
Ms. Vona, don't try to do a fast
that's
talk on
what
me.
it says here.
Don't do a fast talk on me. Did you have a trial?
No, I did not, ma'am.
If you didn't have a trial, then you weren't completely exonerated.
Oh, that's just what it says here.
Just listen to me.
I didn't know it even meant. I had to look it up in the dictionary.
Right. What happened is he refused to press charges and he refused to come forward and testify at the trial.
I think they would have went ahead anyways if they believed that I was guilty of anything, because if you hurt somebody, whether or not they press charges, the district attorney will go ahead and press charges.
Now you're in the head of the district attorney.
No, I'm saying that's...
He said he wasn't going to prosecute.
I don't believe that he did that.
Oh, I believe that he did that. I believe that. After he sobered up a little bit and looked at the truck and said it's not so important, and he said he really has feelings for you, he didn't want you to go to jail. I believe that he did that. But that's not false arrest, Ms. Vona. You did, in fact, cause injury to him.
He made a false statement to the police, resulting in my arrest.
Well, let me see what the false statement was.
Oh, sure. I didn't know you didn't see it.
The statement that he gave to the police, according to his declaration, madam, is exactly what he told me. Now.
So I can't... He lied in his report to the police.
No, he didn't.
Yeah. How could he have been working 3 hours before 6:49?
Listen to me.
That's the first statement's a lie.
Listen
It goes
to
on
me.
to lie and lie and lie. It's false
His
arrest.
statement, no, it isn't. You just acknowledged to me.
Yes, I heard him. It was in self-defense. I was in fear of my life.
Fine. That's not false arrest, madam. That's what the police officers observed. Him injured, you not. That's not false arrest. He had you arrested because you did, in fact, slice his ear in half. So.
It was self-defense, ma'am. And
if you
came at me again, I'd do it again.
Well, then I would have there was never a trial. That's for a criminal trial to determine whether it was in self-defense.
They did. They exonerated me. Exonerate. That's what it says.
Ms. Vona, you can dance. You can dance from today till tomorrow. Your lawsuit is dismissed. Now, let's get to you. You have a counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a counterclaim against her for how much? I want to see the papers that you filed.
I don't believe this.
I want to see the papers that you filed.
So you don't even have to review the evidence?
Ms. Vona, were you ever served today with a copy of a cross-complaint by Mr. Gray?
Just today, ma'am. I had no time to prepare for it.
Can I see what you were served with?
Whatever they gave me.
I'd like... do you have it? Because he doesn't
Somewhere
have his
in
copy.
here.
Did you file that cross-complaint in a court, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Which
Sacramento Small Claims Court.
When did you file it?
Friday, this last Friday.
All right, Ms. Vona,
I gave both copies to the lady.
Could I see what you were served with today, please? I'll wait.
Well, I really don't feel like giving you anything.
Well, Ms. Vona,
but I will.
Of course you will.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is a good weapon, ladies. Can openers, work wonders.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Randy Gray is being sued by his former girlfriend, Lori Vona. She claims Randy had her arrested on false charges. Randy is countersuing because in a violent rage, Lori threw an electric can opener at him, cutting off a portion of his ear.
It's a very narrow legal issue, Ms. Vona.
So
filing a false report causing somebody to be arrested is a very technical, legal four corners.
So if it was a false report, how come?
There is not a false report, madam. He alleged that you hit him with a can opener, causing his ear to be sliced in half. At least two police officers responded to the scene, saw his ear sliced in half, and took that report. That's what the report says.
That he refused to press charges.
Then he changed.
You're not reading all the evidence.
Then he changed his mind, which he is absolutely entitled to do.
If he tells the truth in a complaint, I wouldn't have been arrested for 3 felonies. For sure, if he says I attacked him with a can opener, they're going to slice me with all these charges.
Are you going to show me what he served you with today?
If I can find it.
Good.
I don't know. I just had everything. I just can't believe that in self-defense. And you
just find
you
the
just
document.
said yourself they were false charges. I heard you. The whole court heard you. So whatever. I already lost. So go ahead.
Can I see that, please?
I have to have, you know. You just said he filed a false police report. You're acknowledging that. But you say that I am not, because you don't, I'm not going to say it.
Sir, you filed this report. You allege conversion of a Chevy pickup truck and a dent to his 1982 Pontiac. That have to do with the trucks that were outside her house?
No, ma'am. It has to do with this case. It has to do with the bail amount. She came by my friend's house here when I was there, told me I owed her bail money, and if I wouldn't get out there and talk to her, she was going to run into my car. I said, I have nothing to say to you. She ran into my car and drove off.
She ran into which car?
My Pontiac Firebird.
Did you do that?
No, ma'am, I did not. And I have the letter. Well, it doesn't matter what I have because you're not going to look at it anyway.
I have a witness that she did it in front of his house that witnessed her, him, his wife, and his neighbors.
Step up, please.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you see?
I seen her come to my house, ask for him to come out, and he refused to talk to her because he didn't want to have nothing to do with her. And she went over and hit his car first with her fist. I guess she couldn't do enough damage with that. Then she got in her car and rammed into it and then took off.
You have an estimate for damage to the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it, please?
Can I be excused? This is all a joke.
No, you can't be excused until the case is over. You know, listen to me. You have an absolute right to be present during the remainder of these proceedings. The reason we have a court, Ms. Vona, is because two people cannot agree. Two people cannot agree.
Yeah,
so you come into court asking a court, both of you, whether or not the court can resolve an issue. If you are not happy with that judgment, that doesn't mean you stomp your feet like a baby and pick up your marbles and leave.
What a joke.
Bird, she can leave.
Thank you.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
What were your medical bills, sir?
$367.43, which I haven't paid either.
Let me see them, please. All right, so far I have damages in the amount of $1,234. You have a drinking problem, Mr. Gray?
No, ma'am.
I think you do. I want to tell you something. I think you do. And while there is no excuse for what Ms. Vona did to you, I believe that in all probability, you are not a stranger to the courts in the area of domestic violence situations, whether you were the victim or whether you were the perpetrator. Do you understand?
Yes,
it's happened to you before.
I understand what you're saying.
And I would suggest to you, sir, that probably a good deal of that comes as a result of your drinking. Bird, I hear her making a racket out there, so I want her out of my courthouse. Get her out of my courthouse. So, I'm entering a judgment in your favor, Mr. Gray, in the amount of $1,234, which are your medical bills and the damage to the truck. That's all.
Excuse, you may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
There's a lot more things I need in life right now than reconstructive surgery. But if I was to go down for reconstructive surgery, I'm sure it'd be more than $1,200.
I was totally exonerated. I looked it up in the dictionary. I don't know how it's spelled, but give me a second and I'll find it. I was completely exonerated.
I still have feelings for her children. I've never been married or had children, and her children and I had quite a bond between us, and I do miss them.
This is a good weapon, ladies. Can openers work wonders.
Jason Hager to pay the damage caused to his pickup truck after clubbing it. Jason claims it was self-defense.
Order, all rise. Judge, number 204 on the calendar in the matter of Miller versus Hager. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Shame on you both. Always strikes me is when two adult men get into a car and get into a contest and let their testosterone take off and rule their heads, there's trouble, especially when there's a child in the car, like this gorgeous little blonde thing. Mr. Miller, you're suing Mr. Hager because you say that after some sort of a dispute in your car, he was driving his, you yours, he attacked your car with a club.
Yes.
And caused almost $400 worth of damage to the car. Tell me how it started, sir.
I was making a turn off of Valley View Street. I was going south. There's a frontal road there beside of it. Hager was coming, going south also on it. He ran the stop sign. And as a result of it, I almost hit him. If I hadn't stopped, I would have hit him. I blew my horn. He raised his finger at me, and we proceeded down the frontal road.
So you're both now going in the same direction?
We're both going in the same direction.
And this is your grandchild?
Yes.
She was in the car with you?
Yes.
Where was she sitting, front or back?
Well, it was a pickup, so she's in the front.
Right next to you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We came to an alley that runs down behind a shopping mall, and we proceeded down it, and we got to the end of the stores.
Which car was first and which car was second?
He was following me.
Just a second. His car was first, your car was second.
Yes.
Were you following him, sir?
Yes.
Why?
I was behind him. I mean,
were you following?
I'm going in that direction.
He was chasing me.
Shh, just a second. I'm going to get to you in a second, sir. You said you got to an alley.
Well, it's an alley, and it's also behind the store, but it's a parking lot also.
Well, were you going into that parking lot, sir?
No, I wasn't going into the parking lot.
So you were actually not behind him. You were following him.
Okay, I was following him.
Now, why were you following him?
So I could get his tag number.
Okay. And then what happened?
As we got to the end of the stores, there's also another small frontal road that leads to the front of the stores. He partially made the turn and stopped, jumped out, grabbed his club, and ran at me while I'm stopped. I had, in the meantime, stopped. He ran about 30 feet towards my truck, ran up to the side of me, took a swing at me. I pulled my truck forward, and he hit the back of my cab.
Can I see the damage to your car?
If you'll notice, Your Honor, the damage is at an angle as if you were swinging something, and you'll see that it's also right in line with me in the truck. So if I hadn't pulled forward, he would have hit me in the truck.
This has an open top, sir?
No, it's you looking at. May I get it to you? Oh, come on, surely. I take better pictures than that.
I got it. I got it now. Oh, I thought it was a convertible truck. I hadn't seen one of those. All right. Now I got it. All right, Mr. Hager, let's hear you, sir.
Well, what he said is correct as far as he was following me. I was very close to my home. I didn't want him, I wasn't going to go home knowing he was following me. I became fearful, wasn't sure what I should do. So yeah, I stopped, and in an attempt to defend myself, knowing that not knowing what he's going to do, I did take my club. He sees me stop. He's coming at me. He puts his head out the window of his truck and says, "I'm going to run you over." That's when he started to come at me with the truck. I jump out of the way, and he backs up a little bit and comes at me again. The second time is when he came close enough to me that I could swing and hit the truck.
All right, so I have a few questions for you, Mr. Hager. You live in that area, sir?
Yes. I was less than a block away from my home.
And how long have you lived there?
About 18 months.
So you know where the local police precinct is?
Actually, I found it after this.
You mean you didn't know before?
No. Well, it's a very large city. I wasn't sure where to go.
I don't believe you, sir. You see, I see this. You see, I see this around here.
Well,
and I'm like a truth machine. So don't tell me that you didn't know where to find a policeman.
I went to. Well, no, that would have been the alternative. Was drive around.
That's an alternative rather than getting out of your car with a club.
Right.
Because it doesn't seem to me to be logical, sir, that if you're in fear of your life, you are defending yourself against a 2-ton truck with a 2-pound club.
Right.
You see, that doesn't make sense. To me, what makes sense is if you're in fear, you stay in your car. What kind of a car were you driving?
A Camaro.
So you stay in your Camaro and you drive around until you see a police car, if you don't know where the local police precinct is.
Right.
Right.
But I thought of that after, but in the fear, I wasn't thinking that logically.
Listen to me, Mr. Hager. Why were you in fear, sir? You were in your car, windows closed, right? Windows closed.
No.
You could have closed the windows, Mr. Hager, right? You do have electric windows in your Camaro?
Yes.
So you press a button, you close the window, and you keep driving, and you say to yourself, I got some nut here behind me. I'm not going to get out of this car. I'm going to stay in my car. But you get out of your car. Where was the club?
On the passenger seat.
You pick up the club, and you get out of your car. That doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Hager.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Wonder how afraid he was when he stuck his finger up. Could we ask him that question?
And later today,
Make me look like a liar. Make me look bad when you know you was stripping and you know you was working, Nicole. Don't stand there and lie.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bird Miller says Jason Hager's gesture led to violence, smashing Bird's pickup.
You pick up the club and you get out of your car. That doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Hager. It doesn't, it's illogical, sir.
To drive around looking for the police, I needed to, at some point, decide I'm going to stop and defend myself. That was it.
Defend yourself against what, sir?
This gentleman.
He's in his car.
I don't know that he's going to threaten to run me over. I think he's going to get out.
How can he run you over in your Camaro, sir? Sitting in your car, how can he run you over, Mr. Hager?
He can't.
Right. Sitting in your car, he can't run you over. Only when you're outside of your car, standing there armed with a weapon, can he run you over. Your mistake was getting out of the car. And then you hit his truck. So you were in a combat posture with a weapon. I mean, I'm not suggesting that what this man did was correct. I think, Mr. Miller, to be quite honest with you, sir, you're old enough to use your brains, and if this guy ran a stop sign, as you say, of course, you didn't run the stop sign. Is that correct?
Correct.
I knew that. I knew that's what you would say. But you have a very precious cargo. Not you, her. And so if you have a very precious cargo, and if you were fortunate enough, and God was watching you, and you didn't have an accident at that stop sign, you take a deep breath, and you say, phew, finished. I'm grateful that there was no accident, and you keep going. If you can get his license, that's fine. But to follow him into an alley is not swift.
It's really not an alley, Your Honor. I understand what you're saying, but
you understand what I'm saying.
I don't mean it's a, you know.
I understand, but you got hot.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm
not denying it at all.
Yeah, well, you want to get hot with you alone in the car. That's one thing, but you don't get hot when you have a baby in the car, especially a baby It looks like that.
Could I add something to this?
Sure, sir.
Okay. He said I almost hit him there at the stop sign. If you look at the pictures, you will see there's a medium between Valley View and where he would have been sitting. So, in other words, I would have had to jump across the medium in order to hit him.
Interesting, not terribly relevant, because we're not talking about what happened at the stop sign. What we're talking about was Mr. Hager's. You both exercised poor judgment on that day, in my view. But Mr. Hager's judgment is going to cost him the amount that you claim you spent or will spend to fix your car, and I assume you have a bill for that.
Your Honor, I have a bill for the damage. I don't have a bill for a rental car. It'll take 3 days to fix the truck, which is $25 a day.
Well, Mr. Miller, for your bad judgment, it's going to cost you to rent your car.
All right.
For his bad judgment, it's going to cost him to fix your car. And the grand total here is $279.80 to fix your car. Mr. Hager, it was a very dumb thing that you did, because he may not have been the kind of person that he is, and he may have, in fact, run you over. And your two-pound club wasn't going to help you. So,
well, you know, my question is, if he cares enough about this truck to get it fixed, why is he chasing people and threatening them with it?
Mr. Hager, he wasn't smart to try to chase you to get your plate number, and I assume that that's what he was trying to do. He did not get out of his cab. You got out of your car. Dumb. Stupid. And not only did you get out of your car, you got out of your car with a weapon. So it's going to cost you. The amount it's going to cost you is the amount that it's going to cost to fix his car. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Thank you, Joe. Out the back, go to your right, please.
Come on.
And now the next case.
Parties on Cruz. Ambrosini versus Hernandez. Step forward, please.
16-year-old Nicole Ambrosini and her 20-year-old boyfriend, Moses Cruz, claim exotic dancer Lisette Hernandez owes them a refund on a condo.
You folks were living in the same hotel that the defendant was living in temporarily. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that where you became friends?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Well, we didn't become friends there. We became friends at work.
Okay. Don't tap. And there came a time when you were going to buy a condo. Is that right?
Yes.
And you approached the defendants to see if they wanted to rent a room in your condo that you were purchasing.
Exactly.
According to these papers, you said yes?
Yes.
And you needed some money.
Exactly.
How much money did you need?
$700.
And as sort of a down payment on their room, you gave her the $700?
Correction, Your Honor, that was $750. I have 2 contracts here signing. I had to pay a $500 first month and a $250 security deposit.
Okay, can I see what you have there,
yes,
please?
ma'am. These are 2 pieces of evidence that I have, 2 contracts that Lisette signed herself.
Okay, fine. So let's assume it was $750. This is some contract.
I was in a rush, Your Honor. Grabbed the first thing I could. Next one's better.
Okay. And then, for some reason, which I'm sure that you will tell me, you decided not to move into the condo, and she gave you back $100, according to these papers. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, she has.
And you want the other $650.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was dancing with me. We were both dancers.
No. I'm sorry, I'm 16
and I made
years old.
$3,000.
I'm 16 years old.
I made $3,000, and she know that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Nicole Ambrosini and her 20-year-old boyfriend, Moses Cruz, want the money back on a condo from exotic dancer Lisette Hernandez. Lisette says they moved out without giving notice.
Well, there came a time, I gather from these papers, that you moved out of the hotel but did not move right into the condo.
Right, Your Honor.
Where did you move?
Okay, at that time, we We needed
This
a
is
place.
your boyfriend?
Yes, this is my boyfriend, Moses. We were looking for another location to live while we were waiting for the condo. We were going to just stay in the hotel. It was very expensive, so Lisette kindly offered us to stay in her boyfriend's house and pay $100 a week. We did that, and we stayed there for about 2 to 3 weeks, I believe, and we paid him for every week. At that time, we were told that she needed the money immediately, and we gave that money to her within 3 days because she had said she had a closing to meet. And it would
Closing on the condo.
Yes.
I understand that.
She said it would be about a month to get it, okay? So in our minds, we're thinking, okay, we only have to tough this out for about a month. We wound up not getting a condo or not moving into a place for 3 months. We were waiting to move in for 3 months.
Just a minute.
For 3 months, Your Honor.
Did you stay in the boyfriend's house for 3 months?
Yes. No, we did not. We stayed in the boyfriend's house for about 3 weeks. The
about
other
a
times, we were staying at the hotel, and then my father was moving out of his apartment, and he was moving out half of the month early. So
you moved someplace else.
Yes. Right.
But there came a time when you ultimately said to her, I don't want to move in.
Right.
And when was that?
That was in, I guess, February, March, April.
How much
April.
after you had left the hotel and moved into the boyfriend's house did you tell her, I want my money back, I don't want to move in?
About a month.
That's a lie.
Okay, you tell me.
That's a lie. It was one day. Okay, this is what happened. When they moved into the apartment with my boyfriend, with me and my boyfriend, they was paying $100 a week, which is true. Okay, now, when they was moving out, I didn't know they was moving out. My boyfriend tells me one day, Lisette, do you know that they moving out? I said, what? He said, yeah, they're moving out. I said, no, I don't know nothing about it. He said, well, I'm getting ready to leave, so when I leave, you talk to them and ask them. When I came to you and asked her, I said, Nicole, y'all moving out? She said, yeah, we moving out. My father left me. Wait a minute. My father left me. My father left me an apartment, and I'm going to move into it, and we're going to keep paying the rent there or whatever to stay there. I said to her, so what do you expect me to do? You expect me to take the money right now and just give it to you when I don't have it? You know I'm trying to get this condominium, and I don't have the money right now to give to you. Okay, but before that happened, one day we had went out, or we was working or whatever. She was waitressing, and I was working in a place where we was working at. I made $4,000 that day, and I said to Nicole, I said, here, you know, I gave her like $1,200 to help her out or whatever. I never asked her for the money back. I never said nothing to her.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Your Honor,
that's exactly what it was, $1,200.
Miss Hernandez, I'm going to simplify this. I've just, while you've been telling me this whole story, been looking at these 2 papers. These 2 papers, I assume that you recall signing. Is that right?
Right, and I agreed to pay her back the money. I did.
Okay, so...
And I told her that I would pay for it as soon as I'd be able to get the money.
You signed the contract. So you owe her the money.
Right.
How much did you pay her back?
$100.
So you owe her $650.
Right, but she moved to Texas. But how did she expect me? I live in Florida. She lives, hold up. She gave me an address and expects me to make her money order every week and send her $50.
She said she would do
stamp
that.
and everything.
Moses.
I said to her, let me finish.
Sorry,
they said they will come back they was moving back to Florida or whatever.
Miss Hernandez.
She said that.
Moses.
Moses.
You got to train him better.
I try, Your Honor, I try.
You got to try harder. If you don't do it now, it'll be too late. Do you understand?
Yeah.
They get into bad habits.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Miss Hernandez, you owe her the $650.
Right.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $650.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I wanted to make this easier for you, but in that time that I was struggling, trying to get money back, broke, Lisette wasn't paying us, my mother, who is a witness here today, sent me $300. I was living independently at the time.
What are you lecturing about? Just a second. What are you lecturing about? You sued for $650. I gave you $650.
Okay.
Say goodbye and thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Nerves.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I'm a dancer, number one. She was dancing with me. We were both dancers.
No. I'm sorry, I'm 16
And I made
years old.
$3,000.
I'm 16 years old.
I made $3,000 and she know that.
We won, we have our money, it doesn't money.
And you're still a little liar. Okay, you're still a little liar. You
Better
got
than
your
being a
mom.
prostitute.
She's a bigger prostitute.
Yeah.
well.
Mr. Weidman, you and the defendant were friends for a while. Are those prescription glasses,
Yes,
sir?
ma'am.
You and the defendant were friends for several years.
5 or 6 years, yes.
And according to you, you do jewelry, make jewelry
I'm
part-time.
an electrician by trade. It's a little hobby on the side.
And you had a ring that he liked, and you agreed to make one for him.
Yes,
And had you discussed the price with him?
yes. He's going to pay me $700. I'm trying to wrap it up within 3 to 6 months. There was no set payment plan.
And you made him the ring?
Yes,
Did you give it to him?
yes,
And did he pay you for it?
no,
So that's why you're here.
yes.
He got the ring back.
You gave it to him?
Yes, he came pounding on my door wanting his ring back. And I had it appraised for $300. He wanted $700. So I gave him the ring back.
He's lying. I wouldn't
So-
be going through all this right now if he gave me back the ring.
Why is he asking for $2,600 and not asking for the ring back? Because he's already got the ring back. He's just suing for verbal agreement, which I have nothing, you know, he never said anything about that. He gave it to me as a gift. You know,
Why
this
would
man
he-
has stayed in my house, used my washer dryer, ate my food, drank my booze, never charged him a penny.
So
And
what do you
now he
think-
wants
So what do you think this is-
$2,600 for a $300 ring?
Forget $2,600. But assuming, sir, that you were close enough for him to live in your home, right? Why would you think that at this point he's suing you?
He's mad about something. I don't know. He wants money. I don't know what it is.
Tell me.
I don't know what kind of delusions he's having. I've never lived at his house, for one.
You stayed
I've
in my
stopped
house many
by,
times.
you know, a
Stopped
couple of
by.
times and spent the night a few times. We've gone out drinking together. And he's never given me that ring back, or I wouldn't be at this stage of the game.
Let me see the ring, sir. You say that you have one that was just like it.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it, please?
Like it.
Not the
Right there, you
appraisal.
have the ring?
Just take off the ring. Let me see it.
I want to give her this paperwork.
I'm not interested in your appraisal. Your appraisal is really not important. Well, that is a handsome piece. Is the one that you made for him similar?
Exactly.
Excuse me, can I say something?
Yeah.
He didn't make it for me. He had 3 of them, the same thing, that he already had. He didn't make anything for me.
Okay.
And then he gave it to me as a gift.
Well, tell me how that came about, sir, according to you.
Well, he comes over all the time, you know, well, used to, and just sit around and have a few beers and drink and stuff. I've always admired the ring, and he said, here, you know, you can have it.
You must have had a fight about something.
No.
Something
Here's the
doesn't
ring.
sit right with
No,
me.
it doesn't sit right because every word out of his mouth's a lie at this stage of the
that's what
game.
you say.
I knocked on his door, wanted the ring back. There was this girl named Kelly. They weren't dating at the time. We went to Ojai to go have a drink, me and her girlfriend. We had a real bad time that night. And
That's
so
why
she
you're
came
suing
back.
Hey, don't talk to him. It's irritating. So at the time that you went for a drink with Kelly and her friend in Ojai,
Yes.
he wasn't around.
Yes,
And something happened when you were out there having a drink.
right.
Had you already given him this ring?
Oh, yes.
Okay. How much before?
Approximately a month.
Okay. So, approximately a month, you have a drink in Ojai with the girl he's dating and her friend.
That's a little bit incorrect. He was not dating her at the time. She used me to start dating him, and then he decided in his own mind that, you know, you took out somebody I wanted to see, and I'm going to keep the ring. And that's exactly what happened. And if he could sit up here with a straight face and tell you that I gave him a ring, I'm never given a woman a ring, and on top of that, I'm not sleeping with him.
That's a
You
good
know,
thing.
that's pretty bizarre for him to even say that.
Well-
I've never given anybody a $700 item in my life.
Mr. Weidman, the reason, quite frankly, you know, sometimes if people are really good friends, Mr. Weidman, don't get excited, please, sir, and don't shift from foot to foot. If you're a really good friend of his, it's not so bizarre that if you had several of these, even if you just had one of these, and he said, I really love that you might not take it off and say, I want it to please you. I
I'm
have
not
to.
financially able to give him a $700 item.
Okay. Now, you charge $700 for the ring.
Right.
Because there's $700 worth of gold here?
There's approximately about $450, $500.
Worth of gold, because it's a heavy ring.
Right, 26, 25.
But the other couple of $100 is for your labor in making
Right.
it. Now, the only thing that I have to determine is whether you gave him back this ring. And I can't understand why he would be here if you gave him back the ring, sir.
Money. That's all I can figure.
Your Honor, I make $1,000 a week. I'm a union electrician. I make $30, $45 an hour. I have my pay stubs right here, and believe me, it's not money.
Then why are you asking $2,600 for a $700
Because
ring?
I have the ring, you know, it was like $700. The cost coming from the Bay Area, I estimated about 200 miles. It's 800-mile round trip. Lost wages at $30, $45 an hour. 2 days is $487. Appraisal was $50. The process server was $115. Mr. Bonner had to take off work today at 27 an hour.
What's he doing here?
He's the witness that a few months later that Mr. Torres still possessed this ring. I figured he was going to start this today.
Step up here, sir. Tell me your name.
Richard Bonner.
Mr. Bonner, how do you know Mr. Torres?
He's done some work for me.
What do you know about this ring?
I've seen it.
When was the last time you saw it on Mr. Torres?
Oh, it's, I think it was March when he was doing some work for me.
How do you remember it?
He's done more work for me since then.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't have the ring, so I don't know
Well,
what to tell you.
What? You may not have it, but I don't believe that you gave it back to him.
I did give it back to him.
I don't believe it.
And later today,
Tell me how much each one of these pool cues cost.
We figured between $1,800 and $2,000 per cue.
And what do these pool cues do for $2,000 a piece?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charlie Weidman claims he made a ring for his biker buddy Larry Torres and was never paid. Larry says he gave the ring back to Charlie.
Mr. Torres, it is not common sense that you gave him back the ring and he goes to the trouble of serving you with summons, which cost him money, having the ring appraised, which cost him money, if in fact he had the ring in his possession. That just doesn't make sense to me, sir.
No, I don't have the ring, so I don't know what to tell you.
What? You may not have it, but I don't believe that you gave it back to him.
I did give it back to him.
I don't believe it. So I believe that you did not, in fact, return the ring to him. That doesn't mean that you still have it. I don't know what you did with it. Only you know what you did with it, and you didn't return it to him. Now, Mr. Weidman, I know you're suing for $2,600, and the truth of the matter is I'm not going to give you $2,600. I'm going to give you the $700 that you say you agreed on with this gentleman to pay for the ring. I also think that that gave you somewhat of a profit. You know, you said that there was
profit.
I'm speaking. That the gold in the ring itself was worth about $500 maximum, according to you. Mr. Torres was, in fact, a friend of yours. I don't see why you shouldn't charge him something, you know, because you did use your skill in making the ring. And if that's the way you do business with your friends, that's your business. But I'm certainly not going to give you a windfall of $2,600, sir. So the judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $700. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Parties on Blondio versus Paget. Step forward, please.
Billiard supply owner Peggy Blondio says she gave 31-year-old Tim Paget $6,000 to make custom pool cues and is suing because he didn't finish the work.
Well, I must admit it's nice to know at my age you can learn something new. This case is about pool cues.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you, Miss Blondio, claim that the defendant breached a contract that you had made with him by failing to produce some custom-made pool cues for you within an appropriate period of time. You gave him $5,000 deposit? $6,000 deposit, and he didn't deliver.
Correct.
So why don't you first tell me how much each one of these pool cues cost?
We didn't have an exact price, Mr. Pageant and I, as far as what he was going to charge me. We figured between $1,800 and $2,000 per cue.
And what do these pool cues do for $2,000 a piece?
Well, they're like a piece of art based on the person that makes the cue, the materials that are in it. These cues were to have ambonia burl, 14-karat gold, and a lot of ivory.
And is this your business?
Yes, I work for Beach Billiard Supply. I'm an owner, and I've done this for 11 years.
When did you make this agreement with him?
I gave Mr. Pageant a check on August 9th, 1996. The verbal contract went into agreement at that point. My store manager, Ken Harity, was the witness to that and was involved in deciding what the cues would be made out of and whatnot.
Okay, and what was the promised delivery date?
They were to be delivered in October of 1996.
And they weren't?
That's correct.
And he still has your $6,000?
That's correct.
All right, Mr. Pageant. Now, I see that there's something over there that doesn't look like a telescope, so it must be one of these fancy pool cues. Is that what one of those pool cues looks like? I would really like to see a $2,000 pool cue.
This is they're not finished. I stopped production in September. That was one of the anniversary cues, not complete.
September of '97, you stopped
yes,
production.
Your Honor.
Bird, could you get that? You don't have to put it together. I could sort of take a look at it.
No, this is two separate cues, Your Honor. This one here is a $10,000 pull stick.
It's $10,000?
Yes, Your Honor.
It can't fit on your finger, does
No,
it?
it
No,
can't.
it can't fit on your finger. It ain't worth 10 grand. Well, it certainly is lovely. How long does it take you to make one of these things, sir?
Average 3 months to a year, depending on the materials and...
A year to make one?
Yes, Your Honor.
No, you can't. You got to be kidding me, sir.
No,
because
that's
if you
not
charge,
correct.
shh, don't help. Because if that were true, then you only make $2,000 a year.
No, Your Honor, a lot of the time is just sitting time. When you have a large amount of money invested in materials, as I do in these cues, they sit for 3, 4, 5, 6 months before I put the actual gold in, the ivory in.
Why do they sit?
Because cues warp. They warp, and then if I was to sell a cue for $2,000 and 3 months later the person comes back and says the cue's warped, I have to replace that cue.
So it's got to sit and sort of ripen with age.
Exactly, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you say, I'm having trouble with material, I
told her I
can't
was-
get the material, you can either wait or I'll give you your money back? Did you say that to her?
No, the money was
Right.
sent.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Peggy Blondio is suing pool cue maker Tim Paget because he took her money and then broke their agreement by failing to make 10 custom pool cues.
Now, you took her money in August of 1996.
This is correct.
And you stopped production in September of 1997.
The agreed date was not in October. That's an impossibility. My name is in the Blue Book of Pool Cues. It says right in here that it takes me 3 to 8 months to make a cue, and that was 2 years ago.
Just a second. 3 to 8 months.
Correct.
So August, September, October is not an outside, is not something that's out of fantasy, sir, because even according to you, 2 years ago, when you first entered into a contract with her in August of '96, you say that you could make a cue between 3 and 6 and 8 months. So August, September, and October. That's 3 months.
That's a very plain cue, Your Honor. That's like a $400 to $500 cue. I did not tell her I would have them done in October of
When
96.
did you tell her you would have them done, according to you, sir?
There was a BCA show in July of '97. I said I would try and have the first 3 done by then.
So you're telling her that she has to wait a year for her cues?
Originally, no. July of '97 was the show in Las Vegas.
That's 11 months later.
That's
August of '96 to July of '97.
okay.
That's 11 months later.
Correct.
That's when you said you would have them for her.
Exactly.
And you didn't.
I told her in January that I had not received the material yet. I was having major problems with the wood, that it was going to take longer. She asked me for a date, and I could not give her one.
Well, then why didn't you give her her money back?
She didn't ask for it. She just said, get them done as soon as you can.
Excuse me, I did.
What did she say?
My mother's my business partner had not contacted Mr. Pageant in November, requesting the money back because I had come into some financial situations where I needed the money. So she had asked him to replace the money. I also
did somebody call and ask you for
Her
the money
mother
back
asked
in
me
November?
for the money back. I confronted Peggy. I said, Peggy, is this true? Do you want the money back? And Peggy says, no, don't pay any attention to my mother. I do not want the money back. I want the cues. Get them done as soon as you can. Those were her exact words.
No.
What was the next conversation that you had with him after your mother had the conversation with him and asked for the money back?
I told him that, yes, I was entering, I was entering some financial situations, that I did need the money back. He said that he'd already invested in the materials and therefore couldn't give me the money back. Then I said I needed the cues as soon as possible as we were entering the Christmas season, and my hope was to sell them then.
Well, that's not so far off. He said, I've already invested in some material money, and you said, well, if you've already done that, as long as you get me the cues before Christmas, then fine. And what did he say?
Well, in November, I was told I'd have them in the first or second week in December. In December, I was told I would have them in January. In January, I was told I'd have them in February because I wanted to go to a trade show. They never were produced. I tried to at least get 3 cues because there were supposed to be 10. That never materialized. My bi-weekly phone calls were reduced to weekly, monthly, and then bi-monthly. My store manager, Ken Haggerty, was witness to the date of completion that Mr. Pageant had stated to me, and that was October.
Step up. Tell me your name, sir.
Ken Haggerty.
Were you there when they made this contract?
I was.
And what do you recall was said?
To the best of my recollection, what we talked about, because I was part of the conversation, was what was going to be in the cues, approximately how much they would be worth, and when we would possibly get some of them. Hopefully, we asked to have at least 1 cue because we planned on a whole advertisement around this particular anniversary cue, and we were hoping to get at least 1 to take a photograph of to put in magazines.
What did he say about delivery, if you remember? Make sure if
you... To the best of my recollection, it was going to be by October, and then it became November, and then it became December, and it just progressed. And I spoke to him personally a couple of times, asking, when can we get our cues? And I continually got excuses why we couldn't get them, and that was it.
Now, sir, to date, you do not have any pool cues to give them. Is that right?
I stopped production on them when I was served papers by her attorney. And that was September 17th, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you say, I'm having trouble with material, I can't get the material, you can either wait or I'll give you your money back? Did you say that to her?
No, the money was spent. I have receipts for over $5,000 worth of material that was sent out.
Just a minute, that's not her problem. You made an agreement with this lady to make pool cues for her within a reasonable period of time. According to you, that was, according to the book, 3 to 8 months. And 8 months after she gave you $6,000, she still had zippo, nothing. So you breached the contract. You got to give her back the money. My limit is $5,000 here. Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Woo! Party's excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I'm extremely pleased with it. I think that it was a fair decision.
The judge obviously doesn't know what she's talking about, so...
I'm just pleased that it turned out the way it did.
Judge, this is number 132 on the calendar in the matter of Trevino versus Reeder. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Miss Trevino. Mr. Reeder.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Reeder Sr. Step up here. Ms. Trevino, according to your complaint, you and Mr. Reeder Sr. were living together, correct?
No.
He wasn't living with you?
He stayed with me for a month.
Stayed with you. I paid the rent.
Just a second. He stayed with you for a month. This is his son.
Yes, ma'am.
He also stayed with you.
Yes, ma'am.
And while they were staying with you, you let Junior use your Sears credit card.
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Well, we were good friends, and he was just starting a job, and there was stuff that he needed, like tool chests and stuff, and he promised to pay me back when he started working and started getting an income, and I trusted him. He's a nice kid. But now that Senior and I are no longer seeing each other, he doesn't want to pay me.
Why didn't you ask your father for money?
Because I like Sears tools.
Because what?
I like the tools that Sears put out.
So?
She had a Sears charge card.
Go ahead, sir. Maybe you can answer for him.
Actually, what happened, Your Honor, when we got together, and we were there a lot longer than any 2 months.
Well, first it was a month, now you say it was longer than 2 months.
It was a lot longer. The relationship went on for about a year and a half. Mrs. Trevino's credit card was not being able to be used at the time, and I paid it up, brought it current. The Sears credit card, I paid up the Sears credit card where it could be used. I paid up her Visa credit card, which they never let her use it. Okay, at that time, my son could have asked me for the money, but I didn't even know they were going out and buying the tools. She took him to Sears and started on her own while we were still together. And as we were living together for quite some time, over a month, things went on between them. He could have gotten the money from me if he'd have asked me for it.
Well, that's what I want to know. Why didn't you ask your father to borrow the money for your tools rather than asking Miss Trevino?
Because she had a charge card for there.
But he had the money.
I never came up to ask him for that, Your Honor.
All right, so now you used the credit card. How much did you charge on her credit card?
About $1,100, Your Honor, or so.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much did you pay back?
$1108.45.
You have proof of that for me?
Your Honor, what I have is my check register.
And what does it say in it?
That I have made payments. I have 9 checks totaling the amount of $508.45.
Is that made directly to Sears?
Sears and Mrs. Trevino.
Let me see it. Do you deny that he gave you these checks, madam? He's got them in his book.
He gave me checks for the rent when he was living there.
Some of this, how much rent?
He was paying $200 a month.
There are charges here for $32.45, $38, $75, $63.
For what?
I don't know. It says to Sandra Trevino. Let me see your Sears bill, please. Was she charging you rent?
I paid her rent on my own will, and I never wrote her a check for rent. I just given her cash.
What do you mean you gave it of your own will, sir?
I was told I didn't have to pay rent, but I paid her anyway.
That's not true.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I was the one paying the rent at the time.
That's not true.
Out of my own money. That's why he didn't have to pay rent.
He said he was giving her cash.
He did give her money, but like I said, it was because he wanted to.
So you say, sir, that you repaid her $508 by check, and this is for the tools that you bought on the Sears card. Is that right?
Yes.
But you also say you paid her cash.
Yes.
Twice.
Yes.
How are you going to prove that to me?
What? Ma'am, I have no... we were friends at the time. I didn't think I needed a receipt for that.
Well, but you paid most of the money by check. Why would you pay $600 of it in cash?
Well, because I would go cash my check, and I'd just give her the cash instead of the check.
Why did you give her some checks? All of them were under $100. And then what you opted to give her in cash, you gave her in $200, $300 payments. That doesn't sound logical to me, sir.
Well, at the time, I had the cash on me. And the only reason why I didn't get a receipt was because I was living with her. She was seeing my father.
Did he ever give you cash?
No, ma'am.
He did not?
No, ma'am.
Okay, return this to him. Yes.
He did give her cash, Your Honor.
No,
And I've given her a lot of cash even since then.
No, I believe...
A couple of times I didn't ask for receipts. Then at the very last, she started writing me receipts. I didn't bring them with me, but she did write me some receipts.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She stole her car out of a shopping center before Christmas, and I got blamed for the car.
This is getting fascinating.
And later today,
I did see a cat, and I saw them, you know, running after the cat, and I did see a cat.
I'm not sure I believe that you saw a cat.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandra Trevino says 26-year-old tow truck operator Dustin Reeder used her credit card and didn't repay her. Dustin says he paid her back in cash.
Ms. Trevino, why are you suing him now?
Because they were going through some bad times, and he didn't have any money. He went to jail for a couple of months. The kids were trying to run the business, and they weren't making ends meet. And I was actually helping them keep the business going while he was. And
what kind of business?
Towing business.
Automobile towing?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you incarcerated for a period of time, sir?
Yes, I was.
For how long?
I was actually in jail for 45 days.
For what?
Because she had stole her car and I got blamed for it.
You're a lying sack.
That's right. She stole her car out of a shopping center before Christmas, and I got blamed for the car, and I didn't involve her in it. I took the heat because my lawyer advised me to take the heat, so I took it.
Explain. No, this is getting fascinating. This is much.
Hey, it's the truth. You can check it out with the courts.
Well, you can't check it out with the courts. If you pled guilty, sir, and served 45 days, then you pled guilty to something. Explain to me, she stole a car.
That's right.
Out of a parking lot.
That's right.
How did you get involved with it?
Well, when I first met Mrs. Trevino,
He tried selling it to cop.
She didn't have a car. She had problems with her car. I gave her the money to go out and put a down payment on a new car. When we started squabbling, she couldn't make the payments. So then she decided, it was insured, she decided that she would take it and collect the insurance off of it, which she did.
You're a pathological liar.
What do you, just a second.
The car.
Pathological.
You didn't collect insurance?
Mr. Trevino, go ahead.
The car.
So she reported the car stolen.
That's right.
Ah, it's coming together. She reported the car stolen, and then the plan was for her to go out and sell the car once she got the insurance money for it. Is that right? Am I right?
You're close.
Well, tell me where I'm off. Tell me where I'm off.
Anyway, as it turned out, I got caught with the car
How did you get caught with the car?
because somebody had did some work on it, brought it back,
You mean did some work on it to sort of
changed the
change the VIN numbers?
Changed the VIN numbers. Brought it back. I got caught with it. Okay? And like I said, at that time, I never brought it up. I never one time said anything about it to the law or anything. I just went to jail for it.
Well, you knew that there
And
was you
believe me,
knew the
believe me, I
scenario,
wish I
so you
hadn't.
weren't blameless, sir, right?
I was partly to blame because I got caught with it.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I drive a tow truck.
Your father's tow truck?
Yes.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. These tools that you bought from Sears, what did you need them for?
I like to work on cars.
Sounds to me, with the exception of this young man, these people all deserve each other. Well, I'm going to give you credit, sir, for the following. I believe that you gave her checks towards the Sears bill of $1,100 in the amount of $500, leaving a total of $600 left. Now, I want you to look in my eyes and tell me whether you gave her an additional $600 in cash.
Yes, ma'am, I did. In 2 installments.
Hmm?
I have given her $600 in cash for the tool bill.
For the tools.
Yes. On the
You gave her
surcharge.
extra money for rent
Yes, I was paying her $200 a month for rent.
in addition to the tools. Is that right?
Yes, every month I stayed there, I gave her $200 a month.
Ms. Trevino, I believe him. This young man, I believe. I don't know if I believe either of you two people, but I believe him that he paid you. This lawsuit is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Pathological liars. They're known liars. That's all they do is lie.
And now the next case.
Parties on Brown versus Silberg. Step forward.
32-year-old retail manager Paul Brown is suing his building manager, Greg Silberg, 52, because his dog fell off the roof when a cat frightened it.
Mr. Silberg, are you the owner of this building in question?
No,
or are
I'm
you
the owner of the management company.
Okay. And this is a 3-story building?
Correct.
You, sir, live in that building?
Yes.
And how long have you lived there?
I lived there approximately about 9 months.
And you have a dog?
Yes.
That dog?
I have 2 dogs.
But that's the dog in question?
Correct.
You were going into your building?
Actually, I was going to walk my dog on the, and I was going to visit a friend on the 3rd floor. And
In the building?
In the building.
And your dog did not have a leash on?
They both had leashes on them. I took them in the elevator, walked up to the 3rd floor. I went to knock on my friend's door on the 3rd floor, which is right around the corner from the sun deck. And I had both dogs in one hand, on my left hand. And they saw a cat. This is late at night, about 10:30 at night. They saw a cat. They got loose. As I was running up the stairs, the dogs already were up on the patio or the sun deck, and that one fell. He was down below, and that was it. I mean...
Just a second. Did you see the cat, sir?
Look
at me.
Yes.
Did you see a cat?
Yes, I did. I saw a cat.
Late at night.
That's how they darted out of my hand.
Late at night, you're ringing a bell.
Knocking on the door, correct.
Knocking at a door, right? Like this.
Correct.
Where was the cat?
The cat was to the left, going up to the sun deck.
I'm not sure I believe that you saw a cat. That's first. I do believe that your dog ran up to the sun deck. Fell off. Right?
Right.
And you're suing him for $5,000.
Correct.
Tell me why.
Well,
because that's the dog. The dog is here.
Right. First of all, I have pictures before and after what the sun deck looked like before and after, and as well as the medical bills, which ranged into approximately about $1,300, $1,400. And for my dog's a championship dog, and I was actually going to breed him. I have papers on him, and as well as I have the notice from the city of West Hollywood saying that that sun deck was not properly permitted, and if they had the proper railing on that sun deck, my dog would have never fell. And that's why I'm suing him for $5,000.
I'll see all of his pictures.
And this is the medical bill. And I also have a letter from the doctor stating the condition of the dog.
Who found the dog?
Phil found the dog. He was downstairs waiting for me.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Can I say something?
Do you feel as if you must, sir?
You've kind of said it all, to be honest.
Then why don't you just be quiet?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Paul Brown is suing building manager Greg Silberg because his dog fell off the roof. Mr. Silberg says the dog should have been on a leash.
Describe the dog when you found him.
Well, I was standing outside, and I heard the loud noise, him hitting the concrete. When I found him, he was unconscious, tongue hanging out of his mouth. He was bleeding from his mouth. I went and grabbed a towel, picked him up. He was stiff. I didn't even know if he was alive anymore. And then I found a pulse. I took him into the apartment, found a pulse, called the veterinarian hospital, and we drove him immediately to the hospital. He was unconscious for a couple days.
When you found the dog that night, and I want you to think very carefully, sir, did the dog have a leash?
Yes.
How do you know that?
Because I found the dog.
A couple of things. I don't understand how this dog got away from you if you were holding both dogs in your hand with the leash.
I had them both on one hand as I was knocking on the door of the third floor. And I did see a cat, and I saw them running after the cat, and I did see a cat, and he went off. The other dog, because I called them both.
Well, just a second.
Both their names.
So what you're telling me is you had both dogs
In my left hand, correct.
in one hand.
Right.
And you couldn't control holding on to the leashes of both dogs.
No, because actually when they saw the cat.
Well, the cat's not his fault.
Okay, but the balcony's his fault.
Just a second. How?
He broke the law. The law, I mean, that balcony was not properly permitted. If that balcony was properly permitted, that dog would have never fell.
This is not a place that you didn't know about. You knew about this place. Now, I'm not saying he's not in some way responsible for not having it properly gated off. I looked at the gate that he put up there. Your dog can get through that gate.
Yeah, but if
Just a second. If that's a proper gate that he put up afterwards, that little skinny dog can get through that gate and could have gotten through that gate that night. So could a cat.
Not running that fast.
What do you mean not running?
Not running. A dog cannot get through that gate. Those bars are approximately 4 inches apart. Now, if a dog's running at full speed, the dog cannot go through that gate.
You mean he'd have to stop and wiggle through?
He would have to stop.
Just
and
a second.
He would realize that no.
He would realize. The dog would realize.
He would realize that he would not be able to get through that gate going that fast. That's why the dog fell, because he was going so fast he didn't see the drop. That's why the dog fell. Now, if that gate was up there, the dog would have stopped.
This gate, sir, is not designed to keep out dogs and cats. It's designed to protect people. Dog and cat owners are responsible for taking care of their own pets.
Correct.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Just because there is an accident doesn't mean somebody has to pay you. That's not what the courts are about, sir. This is a people protector. And the fact that you suggest that a dog at full run couldn't go through there, that may be. Certainly, a cat can wiggle through here. Certainly, a small dog can get through here. The design
but not
of it...
at full speed.
I don't care whether it's full speed.
If the dog's chasing a cat...
You're never going to get through to him. Never going to get through to him, sir. Not every injury results in an award of money. You are responsible for keeping control of your dog.
And he's responsible for keeping the railing. I mean,
yes, sir, and I will tell you something else. If somebody chased you up on the roof that evening and you fell off the 3rd floor because there was no adequate railing, you could sue him for a lot more than $5,000 because he is responsible, if you lived and if you could breed, because that's what you're complaining about. But because there was no bar or gate there, that's not the reason your dog fell. Your dog fell because you dropped the leash. And your dog
but I didn't drop the leash, Your Honor. The dogs got away from me. I didn't drop the leash.
Mr. Brown, sir.
Can I say something?
Do you feel as if you must, sir?
You've kind of said it all, to be honest.
Then why don't you just be quiet?
Okay.
This lawsuit is dismissed.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Well, obviously, I'm delighted, and I just feel that Mr. Brown didn't take responsibility for his own action. First of all, the dog was there illegally. Wasn't
no,
allowed
it was not
on his
illegally.
lease.
You don't even know what your own manager does there. Your manager knew the dogs are there. You're saying illegally
on
now.
Top of that,
after 9, I've been there 9 months.
He
if
doesn't want to take responsibility. All he
then...
wants to do is everybody's responsible. The dog fell on its head, so
do you feel you're not responsible for not having a proper sun deck up there?
Absolutely.
You're not responsible?
No, sir.
He broke the law. He should pay for it.
Her and her mother, Lois Teeters, out of thousands of dollars. Jeffrey says after he and Cammie split up, she began harassing him for money.
Order. All rise. This is number 252 on the calendar in the matter of Teeters, Holman versus Slatter. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Who's Mrs. Teeters? Is that you? Miss Holman? Mother and daughter. Former live-in boyfriend.
Correct.
I have two complaints here, and according to both complaints, at some point you met him and he moved into your house. And did you move in there with your child, sir?
Yes.
You have a daughter?
Yes.
How old is she?
3.
You have custody of her?
Not full custody, no.
Were you living with her full time when you moved into their house?
With my daughter, partial time, half and half.
And according to the complaint, during the time that he lived there, each of you were foolish enough to let him use a credit card, and he ran up substantial bills on those credit cards, and then took off. Why don't you start? First, what prompted you to let him move into the house?
Well, I was going to rent a room to somebody anyway to help me make ends meet, and they were getting together, and he was interested in moving out from his mother's place. She was driving him nuts or something, so he needed a place to live. So it worked out. It seemed fine for both of us.
But according to these papers, he moved into your daughter's room.
Yes, they were a couple by then.
So that didn't help to pay your bills if...
Well, he was going to pay rent. Yes, he was paying rent.
He was paying rent?
Yes, he paid the rent.
How much rent did he pay?
$400 a month.
Okay, now would you mind telling me why you gave him a credit card?
It started out just, you know, he wanted to make some purchases, and he only got paid every 2 weeks, and he was gaining weight, needed clothes and what have you, and he would give me a post-dated check. And I let him do that, and he did. The first couple of purchases, he gave me a check, and I held it, and then, you know, when he got paid and it was good, I mailed it in to the credit card company.
Did you give him his own credit card, or did you just let him use yours?
No, he had authorization. Cammie has copies of my cards. We have, you know, 2 cards on the account, so if she was with him and they were shopping, they would get something and put it on my card. And he gave me a check and paid me back. So the first 2 or 3 times, you know, that was swell, it worked. And he wanted to make some larger purchases, and the arrangement...
Like what?
Oh, well, he was trying to build his car to race, so he wanted like a transmission, and he had this good deal and a converter and different things that he was buying. And the arrangement was that he would make the payments to the credit card company, and that worked for me because then I didn't have to come up with the minimum. My minimum would be met. And he would get behind, like it would be 2 or 3 months. I'd get phone calls from the creditors, and they'd say, "You're behind," and I would check with him, and he'd say, "Oh, I mailed it, I'll call them and straighten it out." So he did make some small payments on the minimums on the account. I can't say for the first few months because it would be 2 or 3 months before he made a payment, but you see,
Okay, now how much does he owe
all?
altogether on your credit card? Take it out. We'll show it to him. Together with the purchases.
The total that I have mine made up for is $4,926.60. That's documented amounts.
Okay. Have you shown those to him, those charges?
Yes, he has copies. He
You
has
have
been
copies
given
of those,
copies
sir?
in the past of all
I've had
of them.
copies. I don't have them with me now.
But you've seen them?
I've seen them, yeah.
Good. Now, what about your credit card?
Okay, my credit card started out with he needed a gas tank fixed in his 68 Camaro because at the beginning of our relationship, that was his transportation to work. He didn't have the money.
First, what prompted you to have him come into your house? How long had you known each other before you decided to move him into your house?
We were friends before, and then we got together, and we were together every day since. And so
How long?
How long? That once we got together.
Now, how long were you friends first?
Oh, May of '96.
Yes.
And then got together July 4th.
Of '96?
Yes.
A really long courtship. At least 8 weeks.
Well, he's a very smooth talker. I was also coming out of a bad marriage, and it's nice when someone tells you, you know, all these wonderful things about you, makes you feel wanted and loved, which is what I needed at the time, I guess. And I think he played on that too, but that's a personal thing.
So he moved in?
Yes. And we made a room for his daughter. She had her very own room. My mom and I purchased all the stuff to decorate it. We made them, it was their home.
Are any of these bills bills for what you did in furnishing his daughter's room? No.
And Tiffany has her bedding and stuff. Her mother has it. She uses it with Tiffany.
But those were gifts?
Right, those were gifts, yes.
Okay, but so now tell me about how you came to give him your credit card.
He needed a gas tank, like I said, the repair, and he didn't have the money. And, you know...
Did you know that he was already using your mother's credit card?
No, he hadn't. He used mine before he used my mom's.
Did you know that he had used your daughter's before you let him use yours?
I don't really remember if I knew it specifically that he had.
Go ahead.
So we got his gas tank repaired. He was driving a long distance, and he'd run out, basically have to fill up just to get back home because it was all pouring out on the ground.
And how much was that?
That was $120. That's rough. I mean, I have it of the credit card thing.
Okay, but there were a lot of bills here, according to you. $3,000 some odd worth.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She came in just ranting and raving because I was leaving. She didn't want me to leave. And then after she hit me, I defended myself and pushed her to the ground. Yes, I did.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 25-year-old Cammie Holman says the man she thought she loved, 24-year-old Jeffrey Slater, conned her and her mother, Lois Teeters, out of thousands of dollars. Jeffrey says Cammie is angry because they broke up.
Give me an idea of what he was purchasing on your credit card.
On mine specifically?
Yours.
Robinson's May. He needed new clothes. Like my mom stated, he had gained weight when we got together. I guess he liked my mom's cooking. I don't know. So there were lots of purchases for new clothes for him, as well as one of his mom's Christmas present was purchased on my Robinson's May card.
Did you purchase your mother's Christmas present on her credit card?
She purchased it, yeah.
He was with me at shopping. His mother would not have gotten a Christmas present, or her boyfriend, if it hadn't been me paying for it.
Well, I understand that, but did he say, can I buy my mother a Christmas present and put it on your card?
No.
Shh. Did he say that to you?
He said, I said, we need to go shopping and buy your mom something. He said, well, what should we do? I said, well, let's go to Robinson's May and get something for her. So we went, because I have a Robinson's May card. But that's only $21.54. That's...
Well, you see, that's a problem.
Right.
Because in order to have an agreement for him to pay you back, there has to be some sort of an agreement. This wasn't a, you know, I'll lend you the money to buy your mom a Christmas present.
So we can get rid of the Christmas present.
So give me some others.
Okay, so he got clothes for him, $297.25, $132.50, $43.09. Those are all clothes for him.
Give me some of the big bills that come up to $3,000.
Jacob's electronic system. That is an electronic system for his 68 race car, his Camaro. It's an electronic system.
And how much was that?
Part of it was $515.44. The other part is $281.85.
Does that, Mr. Slater, have a familiar ring to it?
I know exactly what the Jacob system is.
No, but does that bill?
Yeah, the bill, no, I know exactly what it is.
Well, then tell me about it, sir.
Well, during the time that we were living together, I went ahead and we were building my race car, or at the time we were building it.
What do you mean we were building your race car?
They were helping me purchase items for my car.
Yeah.
And during that time, I purchased an electronic system for making the car run proper, and I went ahead, ordered it with their consent, and when it came in, as time came on, I gave money for it over a period of time.
So you're telling me that you paid it all off?
I'm not saying I paid everything, because a lot of the stuff that we had purchased were purchases together.
No, not for your car.
Just a second.
I'm sorry.
Let's just talk about the car. I mean, I read your answer, and you seem to say, I don't owe her anything. That these were things that were purchased sort of as a couple.
A lot of stuff was purchased as a couple, yes, but as the car, over the course of time that I've lived there, I have paid money to the credit card companies direct.
How much? Show me.
This here, what I have in my hand is basically a check register on two different things that shows documentation.
I'm not interested in your check register, sir.
Well, what I'm saying is this here shows what I paid, when I paid, and amounts.
It shows nothing. Canceled checks show what you paid.
Okay, well, I can get canceled checks, but I did not get any, no.
Well, where did you think you were coming today, sir? To a ball? You were coming to court. What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a store manager.
Which means that you know something about business.
Correct.
Right? You can take a check register and sit down and do it almost like a novel. Write whatever you want in there. That's why we use canceled checks as proof. What is that? That is nothing. A check register is a nothing. How much did he pay in total on your credit card?
I don't know. I didn't include any of the ones that he had paid.
None?
No.
And what about you, Cammie?
He gave me about $140. That went to, he took my car to Bakersfield.
Whatever. He gave you
And
about
used my gas card.
$140.
Yes.
Can I
it
see some of
wasn't
these?
credit
Now I
cards.
want to take a look at some of the charges.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's the whole package. Yeah.
There's letters in there saying, we highlighted some.
I don't
parts
want the
for you.
letters. I just want to see
Okay. It just says that he's going to pay us. So I didn't know that particular one right there on top.
Jacobs Electronics ignition system, $515. Is that you?
That was mine.
Okay. How about a trip to Texas airfare? What is that?
When we were dating, we were going to plan a trip to go to my father's house, and I didn't have the money at the time, and she made the arrangements with my job. She went ahead and purchased the tickets for me, Cammie, and my daughter, and we flew out.
This was for me to go back and meet his family, to meet his family.
Is that what the trip was intended for, sir?
It was just supposed to be a trip for all of us to go visit, because I haven't seen my father in quite a few years.
Well, why should she pay for that?
It was a gesture. She said okay, and then I was going to pay part of it.
You were going to pay part of it?
Yeah, I was.
How much?
As much as my plane ticket was.
And what about your daughter?
Well, we hadn't talked about that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Pay $72 to get your hair styled. They're ripping you off, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cammie Holman says she thought she loved 24-year-old Jeffrey Slater until she realized he was conning her and her mother, Lois Teeters. Jeffrey denies the allegation.
We have something here. Spark plugs.
Yeah, he bought new spark plugs and wires for his car, Excel. It was at an auto parts store. They wouldn't take his check.
Is that you, sir? Spark plugs.
Yes,
Does that
probably.
sound familiar? Why don't you pay your own bills? Why are you relying on these two ladies to pay your bills?
During that particular thing there, they would not accept a check from me at that time for whatever reason.
So why don't you just give them cash? Everybody accepts cash.
I didn't have cash on me.
Well, why don't you just go to the bank and get cash?
Well, we were going to, but Cammie said, well, why don't we just put it on my charge and then you can pay me back.
You said, can we just use your charge instead of having to leave and go to the bank and come back?
All right. Look, there came a time when you left, right?
Yes.
Why?
Things were working out between us, and I decided, things were going to work out for the long term, and I wanted to get out of there. And then after I left, things started getting more hectic. I had to have the cops called on her at my job.
Why is that, sir?
Because he hit me and threw me on the ground and left bruises, which the bruise pictures are at home. We accidentally forgot him.
When she came in my job, she come in ranting and raving because she didn't want me to leave, first of all. And
Because you owe my
I
mom
said,
money.
okay. She came in just ranting and raving because I was leaving. She didn't want me to leave. And then after she hit me, I defended myself and pushed her to the ground. Yes, I did. And then after that, I got up, grabbed the phone to make a phone call to the police. And at that time, when I started coming up, she comes around our counter bin and hangs up the phone. And then grabs me by the hair and just yanks a ton of
that's
hair
not
out.
what happened.
And then during that time, then she's saying, well, you owe my mom this, you owe my mom that, and I want it this and that. And then my phone rang. I finally got away from Cammie. And when the phone rang, I answered the phone, and it was the Fullerton Police Department when they had to come out and
How
take her.
much after you left did this incident occur? Assuming, sir, that what you say is true, how much after you left did she come to your job?
Oh, she came to my job a couple times, but we had numerous amount of phone calls during the day. And then what finally ended up happening after I had the cops come, I had to leave that job and go to a whole different area and get away from them because of the phone calls and everything else. I was in the verge of losing my job because of it.
And how much money have you sent to both plaintiffs since you left?
Since I left?
Yes.
Not specifically to them, but that I sent to the credit card companies are probably around maybe $800 or so.
Just a minute. $800?
Roughly.
Show me the last bill here. And now, in what month did you leave, sir?
May.
Now take out your last check register. I love it when a game plan comes together. Your last check register, sir, since May.
This particular one right here is one of the last ones that I made.
The last bill that came from NBNA and stuff, I think.
May. What date did he leave?
May 1st.
May 1st.
That's what time I told him to get out. He came
Just
and
a second. Shh. Is your credit card MBNA?
That's mine.
That's yours. All right, so here we have MBNA, $140. And then we're going to go down, and I'm going to see if I can find, after May, the rest of the $800. Let's see here. I must be missing something.
It might be right in April, too, when I paid some money.
We're not talking about April. I'm talking about since you left, sir.
Well,
I speak English. Do you speak English?
Yeah.
You said after May, after you left, you gave her about $800, and that your check register is accurate. So I see May 15th, $140. I'm just looking for the rest of the $800. I see one in July to a Powerhouse Gym for $350.
No,
Just later.
That's something else.
That's something else.
And that might be not be the most current one because I had to change bank accounts.
No, this goes, sir, through all of the months. June, July, August. This does
I know,
everything.
but I have 2 different checking accounts.
Sir, you see anything written on my forehead? Huh?
No.
Who's Nicole?
My hairstylist.
Pays $72 to get your hair styled.
He pays for his
They're ripping you off,
well.
sir. Well, so far, sir, all I see of the $800 is $140. Nothing else. I see another $380 for your gym. Spend a lot of money between your haircuts and gym. Nothing for what you owe.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Sir, you have to take responsibility for what you do. These people are not related to you by blood. They are not related to you by marriage.
Thank God.
You had a relationship with this young lady. She thought it would work out. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. In any event, you spent a lot of their money. Not only did you spend it, you enjoyed it, and you have the fruits of it. You're driving around in a car unless you sold it that they fixed. You're wearing nice clothes that they paid for. You have a nice stereo system that you listen to. And on and on and on, based on these bills that you say you saw. So you owe them the money. And your excuse that you didn't have an agreement with them is just a lot of baloney. I mean, I don't think that these are ladies that have an awful lot of money. And I think, furthermore, your conduct, knowing that you owe them the money and spending in 2 months' period of time almost $800 on a gym and $70 to get your hair coiffed is a lot of nerve. So the judgment in the case is for one plaintiff in the amount of $3,000 and the other in the amount of $4,900. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She's a very jealous person, but that's besides the point.
I also have witnesses that saw him the night I found out he cheated on me. He took my head and shoved it in the car seat. But that's a different story. I'm out of that relationship, and I'm glad because I'm still alive.
Money she put toward her engagement ring because he cheated on her. Andy says since Nadine bought her own ring, he's not responsible.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 288 on the calendar in the matter of Munoz versus Villa Pondo. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Well, this is a new twist on an engagement ring case. Miss Munoz, according to your complaint, you went shopping with this gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
You were becoming engaged, is that right?
Yes. Yes.
According to you, you picked out a ring that you liked.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have any money or any credit.
None whatsoever.
So you put your ring on your credit card.
Exactly.
First mistake.
Exactly. Exactly.
In addition to that, you say he charged some tires on a credit card, 4 tires on a credit card of yours without your permission. To make a long story short, you're here, so that means you're no longer engaged.
Exactly. We are no longer engaged. We're no longer in speaking terms whatsoever.
And so tell me what you want from him.
I want him to pay half of the engagement ring that he gave me, that we both went together to go get. I have the appraisal. I also have the appraisal on the ring.
I'm not interested in the appraisal.
Okay.
I'm interested in the bill of sale.
Okay.
Where is it?
I have the bill of sale.
Can I have it, please? Okay. 26/27/94. Now, how long did this love affair last after the ring was bought?
Not long.
How long?
Till May 31st.
Well, when was the ring purchased?
February 23rd.
So...
But I had no... I'm sorry, Your Honor, but I didn't walk out of the relationship. He did. He walked out.
I assume you weren't getting along?
It wasn't going anywhere, and so, but I tried to work it out. He didn't want to, so therefore he walked out.
Well, that's probably a good idea, right?
Yes, but he left me with the bill, and I thought that because of his promise that he made that he was going to pay for part of the ring, I expected that in return.
Now I'm going to ask you this question. Why didn't you take the ring back to the jeweler?
I did. They would not give me my money back. They asked for credit, and I said, okay, fine. I then called Mr. Villalpando and asked him, look, I don't want you to be without anything, and I don't want to be without anything. Therefore, you get $1,500 worth of the ring, and I'll get $1,500 worth. And I did call him on that, because I no longer want the ring. I told Mr. Villalpando
So why didn't you sell it?
I tried. You know how hard it is to sell a ring? I've tried for the months that went by. I've tried to sell that ring, and I can't.
Okay. Now, sir, you acknowledge, let's get rid of the tire question.
Okay.
Okay? Because I don't think that you deny that you signed her name and that you bought the tires, correct?
On the credit card for the tires, correct.
All right. And the tires were $330?
Correct.
Did you pay her back?
I've paid her $315, so I owe her $15.
No,
Let me see.
My first payment was made cash, and I got 2 check duplicates. If you need to subpoena my bank records.
I don't subpoena anything, sir.
Okay.
I'm not your lawyer. I'm the judge.
Your Honor, on those checks that he gave me, that was part of the rent and the electric bills that he left me stuck with because he did not pay for anything. Everything is under my name in that apartment because Mr. Villalpando, again, has no credit whatsoever. He claimed bankruptcy in the beginning of January.
Did you leave her with any bills when you
No,
left?
ma'am. I used to bring my checks, and she's the one that took care of the finances.
That's not true. That's not true. We did both of our finances together. We did both of them together. He couldn't write the check on the apartment because of the fact that it was not leased under his name.
Okay. Now, sir, do you have any payments that you made to her in June of '97?
The only payments I made to her, ma'am, are those 2 and the one cash payment I made before those 2.
All right. So now I understand this. Would you give this back?
Sure.
Tires. You owe her $330. Now, let's get to the ring. Tell me about the ring, because your story was an interesting one, sir.
Well, on the ring, we had an agreement, yes, that she was going to allow me to charge a ring so I can get her because of my credit house from a divorce that pretty much ruined my credit. Anyways, I went out and I found a ring that I wanted to get her, and I took her to the store, and she pretty much made me feel about this little because the ring wasn't nice enough, big enough, and gaudy enough, and she specifically told me it had to be bigger than my ex-wife's. And I believe the ring was almost 2 carats as it was, and my ex-wife was only like 1 carat.
Your Honor.
So,
Sir, listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Very nice ring. It's not 2 carats.
Correct.
This is not 2 carats.
Correct.
Okay. So, go ahead. So
And
you took her to the store, and you had found a ring that you liked.
I found a ring. As a matter of fact, they were even having a big sale, so it was like a real good deal, everything. And she did not want it. It wasn't what she wanted and stuff like that. And to me, I felt like, you know, I'm buying it as a gift. You should appreciate what I'm getting you. And that's
so what happened? So you were at the store, and
So
she
we're at
doesn't
the
like
store,
the ring.
She didn't like it, and so we didn't get a ring that day. And She decided she wanted to get a ring that she would like.
But you went with her again to find a ring that she liked.
Correct?
Okay.
And when she finally discovered the ring that she wanted, she asked me what I thought of it, and I told her it's up to her. And that's where it went, and she bought it and signed for it.
But you also promised that you were going to pay for half of it, or actually pay for the gift because it was a gift coming from you, considering the fact that you wanted to get engaged, Andy. You did.
My agreement, I'm sorry.
Your agreement was what?
My agreement was that I was going to pay for the ring that I was going to get her, not something that she didn't approve of or like and wanted.
No, that doesn't make sense, my friend. That doesn't make sense, my friend. Now it makes sense to you. Now it's a good story. Now I can understand that you went and found a ring, a little too small, not exactly what you wanted. She said she'd like something else. You went shopping with her again because I assume at that point you were still in love and you were planning on getting married, and at that point I assume you wanted her to be happy with the ring. That's why you went with her again. Doesn't look like anybody drags you any place where you don't want to go. And I assume that if the relationship had progressed and you married, that you would have made payments on this engagement ring that you gave her.
It probably would have came out of a joint checking account, yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I can't pay a $3,000 ring on my income, and I know he probably couldn't do it either, but it was something that he promised to pay, and it was a gift from him.
And later today,
I lost my best friend. I stole 2 rings from her, knowing what I was doing, and I took him to a drug dealer to pay off the debt.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 27-year-old Nadine Munoz claims her former fiancé, 27-year-old Andy Villapando, cheated on her. So she's suing to recover the money she put toward her own engagement ring.
So what you have is a very interesting scenario, Miss Munoz. The ring should go back to him because it is an engagement ring.
Okay, I don't mind him having the ring as long as he pays the account.
Now, when you made this deal with him, was he supposed to pay for the whole ring?
He was supposed to, he made a verbal promise that he was going to pay for the whole ring. But when I brought him to court, I was being very noble by paying half.
Okay. Well, this was an engagement ring. Women don't pay for their own engagement rings unless they're crazy. She doesn't sound to me like she's crazy. And my sense is that at least at the time that she purchased this ring on her credit, it was something that you intended to pay for because it was an engagement ring. That's what happens. A man buys a woman an engagement ring. The fact that she didn't like the first ring, sir, that's not an excuse. That's just a good story that you made up, that you were willing to pay for the first one but not the second one, because that's pretty much what you're telling me. And if you weren't willing to pay for the second one, then you wouldn't have and shouldn't have gone shopping with her for a second one. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, this whole ring was $2,627.94. And, sir, I don't think you paid it for the tires at all. So, Mr. Munoz, you just bought yourself a beautiful engagement ring and 4 new tires for the total price of $2,957.94. Judgment for the plaintiff in that amount. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out. I'll back up to your right.
I wanted friendship afterwards, and I stated it strongly with him that I wanted friendship, but I didn't want to be lied to like he lied to me.
I'm sorry this all happened.
No problem.
And now the next case.
Parties on Golda versus Greer. Step forward, please.
37-year-old Laura Golder is suing her best friend of 15 years, 31-year-old Liza Greer, claiming she stole 2 rings to pay off a drug dealer.
Ms. Greer, I'm going to start with you. Because, quite frankly, I don't think that the facts in this case are really in dispute. You two ladies were friends for a very long time.
15 years.
And, Ms. Greer, you acknowledge that there was a period of time when you had a severe drug problem, correct?
Yes, and alcohol.
And you were indebted to a drug dealer for some money.
Correct.
How much money did you owe him?
Well, at the time, I owed him about $375, give or take a few.
And you were pretty strung out.
Yes.
She was your dear friend.
Yes.
So you stole 2 rings from her.
Yes, I did.
And you gave one of the rings to the dealer.
Actually, I gave both of the rings to the dealer for collateral, and I was hoping to get him money because he was threatening my life, and he was a very dangerous man, and I was very frightened. And I was sober at the time, but that evening I relapsed from the stress, and I drank. And when I went over to my girlfriend's house where she was, we were together and consoling me, that evening I did something completely out of the ordinary, something I'm very upset about, I'm very remorseful for. I lost my best friend. I stole 2 rings from her, knowing what I was doing, and I took them to a drug dealer to pay off the debt. And when I tried to get them back, he wouldn't give them to me. And the next day I turned myself into the police, and I told them what happened and what I did.
When did you find the rings missing?
The morning that she left my apartment.
How'd you feel?
Extremely upset.
Did you try to contact her?
I contacted her mother and her sister and told them what happened, and they said call the police.
You got one of the rings back?
Yes.
The other one you did not?
Yes, correct.
What did he do, sell it or dispose of it in some way?
We don't know. He's saying he's innocent, and, we can't talk to him. I can't get the rings back, but I want to pay her back. I just that I don't have a lot.
How did you get the one ring back?
That's kind of on her part, and I'm not talking to her right now, so you need to ask.
The police have it as evidence.
But they're holding it, so that one you have. The only dispute in this case is to the value of the ring. How much did you pay for the ring?
$7,000. I have the receipts and all the appraisal and everything right here.
I'm not interested in the appraisal, just a receipt, how much you paid for it. You bought this ring at a very upscale store. And there were 2 pieces of fine jewelry that you bought. One was for $7,000, one is for $2,500. What were the 2 pieces that you bought?
The $7,000 was the ring, and the $2,500 was the earrings to go with it.
And you have the earrings?
Yes.
Just a lot of money to spend on a ring, but...
Did you notice it was a charge card? I like to live over my means. I like to have what I like.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It was either taking your jewelry or going out and mugging somebody or getting killed herself. Because, drug dealers are despicable pun scum.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Liza Greer admits to stealing 2 rings, but says they are worth thousands less than Laura Golder claims.
Miss Greer, I'm going to let you tell me in your own words what your defense is to this lawsuit.
Okay. Okay, I'm not saying that I don't owe her the money because I took the rings. I'm taking responsibility for it. I've done everything I can and my possible means of helping her get the ring back and going to court, turning myself in. I just feel that the designer for the ring is what I'd be paying for and not the value of the diamonds and the gold. I just feel it would be, it's just ridiculous to pay for a designer. It's not ridiculous, but it's just, $7,000 for a designer when the actual ring is only worth $3,000.
That's what I paid for the ring, though.
Shh. Let me tell you this. What you're suggesting is as follows. If somebody steals a Renoir, you know what that is?
Yes.
And says, well, I'm prepared to pay for the canvas and for the paint that was used, but I'm not prepared to pay $5 million for this painting. Because after all this painting is a canvas and some paint. I don't have to pay for the designer Renoir after all. She went to a store that is a high-end store. I'm not even going to mention the store.
Shall I?
No. But I want to tell you something. Anybody that buys a piece of jewelry in this high-end store, what I'm telling you is you're entitled to do with your money whatever you wanted to do with it. But I saw a picture of the ring. It's a nice little ring. So is all of it put together worth $7,000? Who knows? But that's what she paid for it. And you stole it. And she doesn't have it back. And she's entitled to be made whole. Because whatever it is, she's out $7,000 and she doesn't have her ring because of you.
I know.
So, I mean, the limit of my jurisdiction is $5,000. She understood that when she came to this court, right?
Yes.
You've been in treatment?
Yes. I've been sober ever since.
How long?
It's 2.5 months now.
It's not a long time.
No, but it's still longer than I had 2.5 months ago.
I know.
And I'm also on Prozac, and I've been with a psychiatrist, and it was a very sobering experience. And I'm pregnant, so it's devastating to me, what I've done. And I've lost my best friend.
Doesn't sound as if this was a great year for you. Next year will be better.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Miss Golder.
Yes.
She hasn't had a good time. She brought it about by herself. She knows that. I have a feeling that she understands that. You've been a friend for a long time. I'm going to give you your $5,000. I absolutely believe that you are entitled to that. I think Miss Greer believes that you're entitled to that, too. She feels terrible. I am quite sure that when you woke up in the morning and found your jewelry missing and realized who took your jewelry, you felt devastated.
That she would do something like that to me.
Right. She was really, at that point, I honestly believe, pushed to the wall, and she didn't know what to do. It was either taking your jewelry or going out and mugging somebody or getting killed herself. Because, you know, drug dealers can be, not can be, are despicable pun scum. And they can be deadly despicable pun scum. So she was afraid. That doesn't excuse her. But if she's sober, and I believe that she is because she's been very honest with me otherwise, she probably could use all the support she can get. Well, Miss Greer, you have a responsibility now that is far beyond a responsibility to yourself.
I know.
And if you ever think of relapsing, I suggest that you take yourself a visit to a
Rehab.
local hospital.
Right.
And go into the neonatal intensive care unit and see what a baby looks like when they're born with heroin or cocaine withdrawal.
Right.
I guarantee you that that will be a more sobering experience than the one you had here. Got it?
All
right. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff
Thank
in the
you.
amount of $5,000.
I'm sorry,
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You can step up. I'll be back to you, right?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I could go to jail. You know, I mean, right now, you know, I could go to jail. You know, I just don't, I never thought I was that kind of a person. The one thing that I think that Judge Judy gave me back was my friend. You know, I mean, because you know, she wasn't even speaking to me before. You know, to me, the value of her friendship is worth more than the money itself. And I did something wrong, and you know, this is a lesson that had to be learned.
I always forgive her. I always forgive her. Yeah. I'm sorry, Mom. I know,
Thank you, Judge Judy.
Carlos Ayala says when model Monique Howard posed for a photo on his car, she dented his hood.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Ma'am. Judge, this is number 339 on the calendar in the matter of Ayala versus Howard. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Your complaint alleges, sir, that the defendant dented your car when she sat on it.
Yes, that's true.
So why don't you tell me how that happened?
Okay, it all took place at the Velocity Car Show, which is held, I believe, in the area of Redondo Beach. The defendant had asked me earlier that day that she wanted to do a couple photo shots on my car.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a 97 Volkswagen GTI.
Is that a special kind of car?
Well, in that car in particular it's a there's only 500 United States that were brought over from Germany.
So you were showing the car at this automobile show?
Right. I invested at least $5,000 prior to that date into that car.
What do you mean you invested?
As far as money for rims and exhaust systems to modify the car.
So you have this very special car. You're showing it at an auto show. And what were you doing there?
I was asked to go there and do some modeling.
Who asked you?
The president from the actual car club called Orsic.
And how did you two get together?
Well, I had a friendly relationship with her prior to this. And the day of the show, she approached me when she arrived and asking me if she could use my car to pose for a photographer that was coming for her own personal use. And I asked her, what kind of posing are you going to do? And she said, well, I have this pose that I sit on top of the hood, and I
That's not true.
Just a second, I'm going to get to you. You have this, she said to you.
There's a pose where she gets on top of the hood, and she takes a picture, and it's a real nice shot. And I said, well, have you ever done this before? And she said, yes, I did. I've done it before. Nothing happened. It's a great shot. So she reassured me by doing that, and I was easily convinced to letting her do that.
Okay. According to you, you agreed to let her sit on the hood of your car. And you sat there.
Well, depending on what the photographer asked us to do. But yeah, I did.
Sit on the hood of the car and took a picture.
Right, but the photographer asked him repeatedly, about 3 or 4 times, if it was okay. And he agreed to everything, as far as if we were going to actually sit on the car or model around it or whatever we were going to do.
How did you sit on the hood of the car?
They asked us to actually just sit sideways, kind of facing each other with our feet dangling down on the side of the car. And he took a few
But you were the
shots of
only
that.
one who sat on
No,
it?
there was another model.
That sat on his car? Was there another model that sat on your
Yes,
car?
there was. Her name is Colin. She sat the opposite side of the car, at the same position, same area, just on the opposite side of the hood.
Okay. So what happened after the pictures were taken?
I didn't notice the dent until I got home when I was just waxing down the car. And as I was waxing the hood, I noticed that there was a dent in the hood. Well, I felt that it wasn't my responsibility to take care of that, so I called her the very next day, letting her know.
3 days later, not the next day.
Listen.
Sorry.
I hate this thing. Don't interrupt him.
Sorry.
I mean, I could be mistaken, but it was the week after the show. And what happened, I let her know that the fact that she sat in the car, the dent was put into the car. And I just let her know that I didn't feel fair that I had to pay for those damages since it was for her cause and she was the one that actually implied the dent into my hood. She was very humble and actually very generous, saying that she would pay for all damages and you know, embarrassed a bit. But I mean, it was basically a verbal agreement where we both agreed on a date.
Do you have some pictures of this car, sir? That's why I understand that this monitor is in here. You have some pictures that you want to show me?
Oh, yes, I do have some pictures that I need to show you.
That's the car. Where's the damage?
There's a damage. If you see where the light hits, it actually dims down. If I can approach it, I'll show you.
I see it now. Is that the side you were sitting on?
Yeah, it was.
Huh? Okay. All right. And you didn't notice that until a day or so later, is that right?
Yes, you're right.
How come you have such an expensive car and you didn't notice this terrible dent in the car until a day or so later, sir?
Well, actually, I noticed it the same day, but I called her a day or so later.
First of all, how much do you say it's going to cost you to fix it, sir?
Well, I have an estimate here from the dealer service area that I deal with. They appraised the damage. That's the amount that I'm suing for.
$561?
Yes.
All right. And what's your position?
Well, first of all, when we were taking the shots, he stood there and watched the whole shoot and said nothing. He was even suggesting different poses. Basically, to make a long story short, afterwards, I saw him polishing off the car. He did not approach me with any concern about damages. I actually went over there and looked at the car. There wasn't any damages. And it wasn't until actually 3 days later that he called me and told me that there were damages on there. If they had asked him if it was okay, and all of a sudden he's coming back to me 3 days later saying that I made these damages, it would be his responsibility only because the photographer had asked him over and over it was okay if we were to get on the car.
Oh, you asked him. You asked him. That was enough.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She asked you if she could sit on the hood of your car.
Right.
You're a fool to have said yes. You're a fool.
And later today,
it's obvious to me that when you move out, you move out. You take your clothes, you take your shoes, you take your hats, and you take your doggone cars too.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carlos Ayala says when car model Monique Howard sat on the hood of his sports car to pose for a photo, she left a dent. Monique says she's not responsible because she had Carlos's permission to sit on the car.
Mr. Ayala.
Yes.
You think that she should be responsible for all these damages
Do
to
I
your
feel
car?
that I should be responsible?
That she should be.
Yes, I do.
Well, you're wrong. You want to know why, sir?
Yes, I do.
If she had sat on your car without your permission, she would be totally responsible for the damage to your car.
Right.
You are supposed to be an intelligent man. If somebody asked me if they could sit on the hood of my car, and if I said sure, and if they damaged the hood of my car, whose fault would that be?
Well, considering the, if I make a statement,
Yeah.
there's two models that sat on the car.
Uh-huh.
First of all, the other model did not dent the car, which
Yeah,
was
maybe she was thinner.
Which was what she asked me
Just
for.
a second. Maybe she was thinner.
Yeah, actually, she was very much thinner.
Well, then, sir.
Right, but
look,
I'm not.
you use your eyes.
Right.
You look at one model who's thinner. If my 2-month-old grandchild was on the hood of my car, and if my 9-year-old grandson Casey sat on the hood of my car and I said it was okay, and if Casey damages the hood of my car, that's my fault because he's 9 years old and weighs more than a 2-month-old baby. So if you look at these two women and she's a little heftier, and you tell her it's okay to sit on the hood of your car because you wanted your car in some sort of a magazine, why should she pay for it?
That's an incorrect statement there. I didn't ask her to take the shot for my purpose.
Doesn't make any difference.
Second.
She asked you if she could sit on the hood of your car.
Right. Well,
You're a fool to have said yes. You're a fool.
Well, considering that I'm not a weight trainer and I'm not an expert in that field, I wouldn't be able to make a professional...
I want to tell you something. I'm not a weight trainer, and I'm not an
Exactly.
expert in that
Well,
field,
then
and
you
I
have-
wouldn't let anybody sit on my car. You think that if this guy said to me, Judge, I want to take a picture on the hood of your car.
Right.
Could I take a picture on the hood of your car? And he sat on the hood of my car, and the hood went to the pavement. that I would say, it's his fault? No, sir. It's my fault, because I was the idiot.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying to you? This lady, looking exactly like she did, said, I want to sit on the hood of your brand new, expensive, rimmed car from Germany.
From Germany. American
And
made.
you said, sure. And then she sat on your car, and according to you, she dented it, and you think that that's her fault.
Not entirely.
Dismissed.
Parties are excused. Step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
And now the next case.
Parties on Jackson versus Mitchell. Step forward.
31-year-old student Adam Jackson is suing his former roommate Lorraine Mitchell because she refuses to return his 1985 El Camino.
All right, I don't think this is very complicated. Mr. Jackson, you and Miss Mitchell were friends, and for a while you lived in her house.
Yes,
You lived in her house along with other property, an old car,
correct.
and then you moved out of her house.
Yes.
And you left your,
Vehicle on a property.
what kind of car was it?
It's an 85 Chevy El Camino
And where on the property did you leave the car?
in her backyard.
Were there any other cars in the backyard?
No,
Just yours.
just mine.
And how long did you leave it there?
I would say from April 97 through November, and it's still there. November this year.
And you want your car back?
Yes.
And you say?
And I say, Mr. Jackson, you're more than welcome to have your car back, but I want to be paid $18.50 for storage per day.
Why?
I checked with several storage companies because if he had had his automobile parked in a garage towing service, he would have paid $18.50. And on top
Why
of
did
that,
you let him leave the car there to begin with?
why did I let him leave the car?
Yeah.
Because he didn't have any other place to take it. Judge, I called Mr. Jackson on several occasions, over and over and over, repeatedly over, asking him, please come and pick up your car. I asked him over 5 or 6 times. I have the dates written down, and he will testify to that, I'm sure.
But, Miss Mitchell, you had no agreement with him that he was going to pay you to store the car. He didn't do the right thing and get the car out of there fast enough. Why?
Well, at the time I was going to school, and because I was busy with my schoolwork, and I tried. I tried when I told her I was going to come by to pick up the car. So when I finally sold my car, I had the guy who I sold the car to go by her house to pick it up, and that's when I found out that I was going to have a hard time picking up the car.
Yeah, and when was that? When did you sell your car?
November 7th.
Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden somebody showed up at your property to look at the car? Is that what happened?
Well, first of all, a young lady called me over the phone, and she says, "Hello, I'm Stella. I'm going to be coming over to look at Adam's car." I'm like, huh? Okay. And then the next thing I know, at 8:30 at night, there's a gentleman knocking at my door. I mean, and it's pitch black dark where I live at. And I'm saying, who is this at my door? I'm recovering from a nervous breakdown. He knows I'm ill. Judge Judy, he hasn't even called me to give me the decency to say, Lorraine, someone is going to come over and be looking at the car.
Miss Mitchell, how old is he?
He's a child. I have no idea.
How old are you?
31.
Miss Mitchell, you said it. He's an irresponsible child.
That's right.
No question about that.
And this is what this is all about, to teach a irresponsible child about your responsibilities. You cannot go off and leave your merchandise on somebody's property for 6 months and come back and all of a sudden it's yours. You have interrupted my business, Adam. You know I have my pallet business back there.
Don't talk to him, talk to me.
Judge, I have a pallet business there in the back where I store expensive pallets are back there. We can't put the fence back in place because once I put the fence in, he has to tear the fence down to get his car out. How many times do I have to call him? Adam, come get your car. Adam, come get your car. Adam, come get your car. I don't feel I have to call him that many times.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You rip and run to Vegas every other weekend with these young floozies, and you don't have time enough to come over and take care of your business. That's the bottom line, am I right?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Adam Jackson says his former roommate, Lorraine Mitchell, refuses to return his 1985 El Camino. Lorraine says Adam abandoned the car and she wants him to pay a storage fee.
Now, Mr. Jackson, there is a certain equity in what she says, sir. You know, while she does not have a contract with you, a storage contract, and you cannot create a contract after the fact.
Yes,
Ms.
I'm
Mitchell.
not
Do you Yes, that's what you're trying to do.
Okay,
You cannot create that
all
after
right.
the fact.
All right.
Because there were certain things that you could have done, like just towing his car out of there and just leaving it someplace.
That's right.
You could have done that. You
That's
didn't do
right.
that. Now, Mr. Jackson, did you sell this car?
Yes, I sold it, and then I had to give the guy his money back because Lorraine wouldn't let me come on her property to get the car.
Well, so that wasn't so long ago, sir. Is that right? Do you still have a buyer for this car?
No.
No. So what do you intend to do with the car?
Sell it once I get possession of it.
And what do you think you're going to sell it for, sir?
About $1,000.
And how much of that do you morally think you owe Miss Mitchell for having had to look at your car well beyond a reasonable period of time?
Morally, I don't think I owe her anything.
Well, let's think about why not?
Well, she didn't tell me to come by to
She
pick up the car.
called you 4 or 5 times, Mr. Jackson. She called you 4 or 5 times, not to say, how are you? Not to say how you're doing. She called and said nicely, when are you coming to pick up your car? And you made appointments and you never showed up, right?
Correct.
So that makes you immature and irresponsible. And I'm asking you, you are now going to sell a car that's been an eyesore on her property for 6 months. What do you think you owe her for the inconvenience? You tell me.
Well, like I said, Your Honor, I don't think I owe her anything because at the time that I stayed in her house, I helped out with her children. I helped them with their schoolwork because she was in the bed all the time.
Where's the pink slip for the car?
I don't have the pink slip, but I do have the title right here, the registration.
You do?
Yes.
Let me see it. Now, sir, you're going to tell me, Mr. Jackson,
what morally you think you owe this lady from the maybe $1,000 that you're going to get for this car, the title of which I hold in my hand.
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know, Your Honor.
Think hard, sir.
Well, she didn't file a claim with the GM.
Think hard, sir. You live in a place where you don't have a place to park your car? Is that right?
Correct.
So that she was really doing something that helped you, because if you had had to move your car within a week or so after moving out, which was what your original agreement was, right?
Well, we didn't have an original agreement.
You
to begin
said, can
with
I
when
leave
moved
my
out."
car here for a week or so when you left?
I don't remember saying that to her.
What did he say when he moved out?
Well, he didn't say anything. It's obvious to me that when you move out, you move out. You take your clothes, you take your shoes, you take your hats, and you take your doggone cars, too. Don't that go with the package?
Now, Mr. Jackson, I'm going to ask you one more time. How much do you think you ought to pay her for the inconvenience of having your jalopy in her backyard for 6 months? You better come up with a figure, sir, otherwise you stand to lose your car.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Give me a figure, sir.
I would pay for the fence to be replaced at her house, because she has a wooden fence around her property, and there was 2 sections of it that fell down, and I'll agree to pay for the restoration to get it fixed.
How much will that cost you, Miss Mitchell?
I don't know, Judge. I really would hate to quote a figure.
Cost you about $200-300?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Mm-hmm.
At least.
Well,
it's a half-acre piece of property. It's not a, it's not a from here to here. It's a half-acre piece of property. And the fence extends all the way down to here. And what happens the reason why it became such an inconvenience and I kept calling him is because when the fence is down, my property is insecure.
So, you're going to give him back his car?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Mitchell.
Uh-huh.
Okay? Here you go. Would you give this dirty old title back to him, please?
Yes.
Don't spill coffee on a title, Mr. Jackson, because you should keep it someplace safe. That's responsible. And you, madam, are going to get $500 to fix your fence.
Thank you very much.
Very good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
I told you he was going to pay me. Didn't I tell you he was going to pay me? I told him. I said, you're going to be sorry.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Didn't I tell you?
Yeah, but you should have been patient with me and give me enough time to get
Adam,
my car.
how much time do I have to give you? 6 months, honey, is a long time.
Yeah, but you know my
can't go off.
situation.
I know your situation, yes. You really...
I want to खेड़ खुला चाय देखो एक घोड़ी एक घोड़ी स्पेनिश सारे ही हैं ಇದು ಬಾಬುಲ್ ಅರಬಿ ಘೋड़ा खलाई छावा उर्दू इसका बच्चा है क्रॉस कराया सारी लागे ना हुन जने सजाद खान मेला नहीं आई इन्हें नवाब बता लग गया वे मुश्का अपना सा वदे अरबी सिंगल बड़े लेकिन वो प्योर नहीं मिक्स है यही में वो मिक्स है ये प्योर नहीं Spanish and English. Oxford, Judy.